Mosier Community School Board of Directors, our April regular meeting. We've got, oh, let's start with introductions, please. I'm Emily Strands, board chair.
Dan Watson, board member.
Jen Langley, sorry. Don't worry about it. Jen Langley, assistant principal.
Michelle Dawkins, executive director.
Tiffany Strand, board member.
Abel Tino, board member and acting as board treasurer.
Marie, board member and secretary.
Great, thank you.
Lisa Goddard, second and third grade teacher at MCA representative. Janet Baker, literacy specialist and MCA representative.
Brent Foster, volunteer. Erica Wirtz, parent.
Third grade Settinger, qualified teacher and curriculum lead.
Slide number.
Thank you. Nope. And then McKenna?
Hi, I'm McKenna and I'm a board member.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here. Okay, I know of a couple of changes that we need to make on the agenda, including we will not have an update on the MTA contract quite yet, but we should expect one in May. And then since we have both Eric and Brent here currently, I think we should move item 14 up to the top of the meeting. To how about right under the MTA report? So item 14 to below 6.
Make motion.
Let me check really quick. Are there any other changes? Anything else we need to do? Add or delete? We could, Sarah Grace, would you like us to move you up as well?
That would be great.
Yeah, let's do that too. Sorry. All of our folks who've been, well, we're gonna keep some of you who have been working all day, because that's just the way it goes for us, but let's get the teachers up. So- Yeah, right. So let's move item 13 up to under 14. Okay, I think that that's probably pretty good. Yeah. Want to make a motion now?
Make a motion that we strike item 7, update from MTA contract committee, and then move items 13 and 14 to just after the MTA report.
A second from Tiff. Thanks. All those in favor? Great, motion passes. Now you all just help me remember that in a few minutes. Okay, we did receive pre-submitted public comment. I put it in your inbox. Please take a look. It's around cell phones at school and smartwatches at school. The request specifically is to not allow them anywhere on campus at any point in the day. We also, I just want to note, we also received something from Michelle that she shared from the Ben Lapine School District about their technology, it's a resolution on technology. I think that it's a good thing for us to look into a little. We have a policy on cell phones. This is suggesting we go a little bit further. So maybe not at this moment when we have a lot of stuff going on, but short in the near future, we consider a committee to dive a little bit deeper and to come up with a recommendation for the board.
Maybe the policy committee can.
Or do the teachers want to speak?
I think that that should be what the committee is doing, is like getting input from everybody. Yeah. Teachers, parents. But yeah, but it just seems like something that needs a bit of a deeper dive than just us right now. So that'd be a suggestion for the future. I can put it on a board meeting for May or June.
Maybe June.
June.
Yeah, I just think that this is a building, there's a rumbling out there in the community, in lots of communities, as you can see in Ben Lapine. I know Hood River, this is a big topic that they have going on, and it's just like really, and that would allow us to give some time to look at what do we currently use, what is our screen, and it's really like coming up with checking in, what are we doing with technology, why are we using technology, where is technology used, and just making sure that the board is aware, and so parents are aware of the technology, because on the youth area, a lot of people see iReady as big technology, and because I thought it was online, but iReady is actually a textbook. So like just making sure that we're communicating that to our families.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll put that on the June agenda for a deeper dive on how we want to move forward. And that was the only pre-submitted public comment that I received. Did anyone else receive any? Okay. What about the March meeting minutes? Any changes needed on those? I thought that they looked great.
I move that we approve the March meeting minutes.
Second from Dan, all those in favor? McKenna?
I'm in favor.
Thank you. Motion passes. Okay. Then, so we've got two positions on the board that are opening up in June. There's a bit of a process that I wanted everybody to make sure that everybody knows about in order to apply, and there's quite a few dates. So I'll go through this slowly. We've got two positions opening up that will go from June of 26 to June of 2029. If you are interested in putting your name in the hat and applying to be a board of directors or a director, you would need to submit your application to me by May 3rd at 5 p.m. And then on Monday, May 4th, here and online, we'll have a candidate forum. It's kind of an informal meeting, but an opportunity for candidates to share their experience and their skill set and why they're interested in being on the board. And then the Mosier School Foundation can vote for board members. And voting will begin on May 11th and it'll run through 3 p.m. on Wednesday, May 13th. You have to come in person to the school to vote. If that is hard or impossible for you to do, then you can reach out to Daphne at the front office and she will send you some material so that you can vote online. And then on Thursday, May 14th, we'll do our annual Mosier Community School Foundation meeting at 5:30, also here and online. And that's when we will announce who the new board members are. So if anybody's interested in learning more about what it is like to be on the board and kind of what our roles and responsibilities are, you can reach out to any of the board members and we'll share information with you. There's also information on the school's website. Anything that others want to add on that?
I just wanted to suggest that maybe 5 board members might be enough as well. Throwing that out there.
Yeah. And one of the things on our ever-growing to-do list is to revisit our bylaws. And I think that we would have to make a change like that through our bylaw process. So yeah, that's something that we can consider when we get there. Good point. Okay.
Can I ask McKenna? Oh, if there's time, we don't have to talk about it. I was just curious.
Why?
What the why?
McKenna, you want to provide why?
Oh, yeah. Well, I just, being that I'm moving, I kind of just took a peek at other districts and how many board members there are, and some have way fewer. So I just wasn't sure how we came to 7, and it doesn't seem to be standard practice.
Yeah. I feel like we need all of the hands that we can use.
Yeah. So more input and like minds, I
Yeah.
think is valuable, but also if we can't fill the positions. Then
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, let's see how it goes. I have not
Yeah.
yet received any applications.
Yeah. That's early. I still got
Yeah.
a week and a half or something.
We got a little bit of time, but get the word out there. I think it'd be helpful to get the word out. Okay. Awesome. Hi, Julia. She's here. Okay. Awesome. Let's go next to an MTA report, please.
Well, we have our first report is from the 2nd and 3rd grade rooms. We finished our Iditarod unit, and we have some beautiful Northwest Native American tribal art out in the hall for you to gander at. It's about using form lines, so please look at those. The kids had a great time doing that. Both classes are starting a new science unit on biodomes, specifically looking at the rainforest. Brett Foster has agreed to take both classes on a nature walk to Osprey Landing to see the osprey pair and go on a scavenger hunt for wildflowers, and so we're greatly appreciative of that. We are also starting our 4 health lessons. We'll be learning about the importance of having a personal bubble, asking permission before entering personal space, knowing it's okay to say no, and why we should respect people's choices and decisions. And we're also going to look at bullying and respecting differences in others. In writing, we will begin a unit on writing research papers. We've just finished and are finishing our opinion writing in paragraphs. In math, 2nd grade continues to practice adding and subtracting with regrouping and have started a measurement study. In 3rd grade, we are nearing the end of understanding fractions and comparing fractions. And then we will be moving on to perimeter and area next. 3rd graders are also beginning the state testing with the big reading and writing portion first. We practiced for many days what this will look like and what are some good testing moves. And then we will take a little bit of a break before starting the next portion of the test to give us a chance to recalculate the minds. The students continue to grow and flourish, and it's such a pleasure to watch them grow. And they are growing by leaps and bounds.
Wow, yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Cooper, our PE teacher, all grades are just wrapping up our school-wide soccer unit, practicing soccer skills and learning about soccer in different countries. We're currently working on our rolling and throwing skills through many different mini games. It's fun to see them very organized and competing down there in a kind way. ELD, so grades K3 ELD students have started a health unit that introduces exercise and food vocabulary. Lots of conversations about health and being healthy and what is exercise and what is not exercise. They just finished up a unit on ecology, so grades 2 and 3 were comparing animals from grasslands and from jungles, so kind of a compare and contrast. Reading. So reading intervention small groups have been consistent through K5 grades this year. Fluency and comprehension are our biggest areas of struggle with many of the students that we work with. So we're stepping up our word pattern reading passages for practice and for sight word knowledge. Having a large word bank, of course, is what helps us to be more fluent when we read. Allows our brains to focus on comprehending if we have those sight words, if they just come to us instead of stopping ourselves to sound those things out. So lots of practice on that. Also, the 4 or 5 are practicing strategies where they chunk up words just to help them not be overwhelmed when they say big words, how to, oh, I know this. And then you add prefixes and suffixes and it's not as hard as they think it is. So learning how to chunk up words. Basically all the state testing will be done by the time we do our end of the year dibble. That's the plan anyway.
Good plan.
So excited to see growth.
Yeah. Great. Questions or comments? Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Great, let's do an update on the Department of Energy grant. Maybe starting with what happened during spring break, because I don't think we reported out on windows and insulation.
You want to
Yeah.
start it? Yeah, we have all,
Thanks, guys.
our windows have been put in the 2000s. Right? So this was already here and we have all new windows there. If you go into, I know Sarah Grace and Anne Marie's classroom, we switched out what was a fairly non-functioning door to a very lovely 2 windows that are very functional, let in more light to them. It also it's a little bit lower, so if there was an emergency, kids could get out of there a little bit easier. All the windows are in the front, look amazing, and cafeteria, it really has kind of changed that. And then, I don't know, we didn't have insulation and now we have insulation. Apparently they didn't insulate in 1920. So, and that is really cool because the Department of, no, hold on. The Oregon Energy Trust actually picked up the cost of that, and we were able to use that as a cost share onto the Department of Energy, and so that's really lovely that way. Veronica just submitted another set of invoices to get paid back for the windows, so we're trying to get money back out of them again. And I have to say, like, from the beginning, it was a little sketchy.
We weren't sure.
The process, we have a really good relationship with the people from the Department of Energy right now. It's been a very consistent person. I mean, Christian's been there for at least 6 months now, right? 6 whole months. Very responsive to like you email them, they email you right back. And so it just seems like the process is much better. So we're excited for the next big phase.
Next 2 big phases.
I guess that's 2 big phases. We do have, we are all approved for the contractor for the asbestos removal. That is scheduled for July 13th. We moved it back just a little bit because there's Mosier Festival, the summer festival, and they always use the building, and they weren't gonna be able to use the building, and we just figured, you know, we'll just move it back. It just, cause we don't want anybody in the building, so they think it'll take 2 to 3 weeks to remove all that. It's an exciting part of it, cause they're actually going to remove the furnace.
Yeah.
So,
That's
yeah.
great.
And really cool that was like, we were able to add that
To
into the project.
the Department of Energy, yeah, to the grant, and so that will be paid for by the grant. So the about 110,000, there might be a little bit more cost to it because, they cannot test whatever is underneath the furnace, and so they will have to charge us for whatever that is. And whether or not they'll have to remove that, so there might be an additional cost to that, so. Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah,
Still a pretty sweet deal.
yeah.
Yeah, because that will actually gain some storage space, so that will be.
Will be asbestos free.
No, it will be asbestos free. I know, well,
Well, they're
there,
in our kitchen and thinking for people eat.
Yeah.
And to be clear, like, that was something when we looked at, like, what's the potential for removing all that stuff, it's like, there just wasn't, but there, you know, what they approved us for originally, like, it wasn't in the budget, so it was, I think, great to see.
Yeah, and also, thank you, I'm assuming it was you who figured out the Oregon Energy Trust reimbursement, and that's awesome, that was great.
I mean, that's kind of been on the radar, but like it all, you know, you believe it when they're actually like, here you go. So that's good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
and that becomes a part of our cost share, so that helps us out with the government too, so it was a win-win all around.
Yeah, very cool.
Win-win-win.
Okay, well, what about the solar pavilion?
So, you guys all should have email, which is Eric's latest and greatest. Very busy time. We're kind of running a bunch of parallel paths. And I'll just try to like hit on a big picture quick so you get a sense. One is Michelle and Eric and I, most interesting city council meeting.
About that.
Bad.
Yeah, still going to therapy for it, but no, so but the city really did essentially agree to help fast track us. The city staff has been responsive to the point of saying, okay, where's your proposal? We're ready for it. And a little bit of a left curve is the city's got a very unique zoning code as it relates to public facilities. Note to self, we should change it at some point. It is unbelievable. Pretty much anything the school does is considered a conditional use permit. Usually that's kind of like you're doing something that's outside the norm. Putting solar panels up on an outdoor school pavilion should not be a conditional use. It is, and it creates a whole lot more paperwork. So we've been dealing with that. Eric's done a great job of kind of trying to modify the site. There's stakes out there that show the general outlay of it. We've been, so on the city side, I think we're pretty close to having the permit submission in. Stormwater has been a hurdle, because just like anyone, we're creating essentially impervious surface. I had a good call with both the county, or with both the former city engineer today, who explained what is definitely the most interesting stormwater code I've ever seen. And I'm like, it can't be this simple. And in fact, supposedly it is. So he sent me the documents that we were missing. They were offsite. The city's redoing its website or something. So these documents were missing, whatever. Those are supposedly in my email box. I'll get tonight. Hopefully we'll be there. Behind second door, we're trying to minimize stormwater. We have great drainage, right? It's like usually you're happy if you get 5 or 10 inches per minute. We're at 37 inches per minute. So we have very fast drainage. That helps us shrink it, but it still comes out to really big when I use the city of Portland's modeling tool. So we're trying to find a workaround. I've talked to ODOT. They're potentially open to even letting us use their own infiltration swale, which is down on the thing. I had a great talk with their manager today. Their engineer is running some numbers. We'll see how that goes. Makes it a little more complicated. My kung fu move, I think, is if we can get something in that the school can do, and then we can work on the ODOT thing as it goes on. That's maybe the quickest way forward. I'm basically writing up a whole point by point. Here's all the different criteria that we have to meet, giving it to the city, going, here's why we need it. Eric's been handling all the plan side of things, and I'll let him talk to the plans in a sec. But basically, I'd say we're really close. I really want to get it in this week to the city, and then we'll just see how fast that goes. So city permits, we're on track. Eric had a really good idea too, that one of the things we need to do is, start some sort of construction by July. It's July 4th. I'm kind of doing the deep dive into the legal stuff around that. One of the things that I thought Eric's idea, which is we can start construction by removing the old panels. That ought to be easy. And I'm trying to get some agreement that we actually don't even need city permits for that. We just need a demo permit from the county, which is easier to get. So that's optimistic. And then we have until there's a couple avenues I want to say there. I don't want to talk to them, but there's some potential we may even have, if we can get it completed by 2027, that we may still be able to get a hold of the 40 or 30% from the feds. This is direct cash. I've got a half-written email to y'all on this direct pay thing. The gist of it, though, as I've dug into it, is basically we can get up to 40%. It's either 30 or 40%. It's domestic content. We can get up to 40%, which I think we have to do for BABA anyway. Now, there may be some carve outs. Some of the solar stuff we've determined we cannot get. I've submitted a BABA waiver request because of that for the batteries. And we got to the point in the engineering of the solar system where they were talking about all sorts of crazy mechanical things that would give us this, what they called a Frankenstein system, in order to comply with BABA. Multiple inverters, one when we take the solar into the battery, the other when we take it from the battery back into school. And I just finally said, no, this is not, we got to go for a BABA waiver on the inverter too. Other people have and have been granted them. Not many. I'm kind of amazed that there's not more, but there you go. That's where we're at. So I'm amending our BABA waiver to get that in on the feds. I've got the NEPA document for the feds is basically drafted. We got a review from DOE back. I mean, I submitted it to them this morning. Yeah, edit back this afternoon saying, here's what you need to do. Fantastic. We'll get that in. The NEPA co-exclusion bonds. Little different. Eric schooling me on the statute that I litigated for 20 years properly around this conclusion. I'm gonna mention it for sure. this is kind of a high level NEPA review, like what are all the issues? I think it goes to the category. It's like what informs their idea that we don't need to do some big study, which I feel good. That's a paper exercise. I think we'll get through that. So you got city permitting, NEPA, BABA waiver, both BABA waiver, NEPA should be in by end of week. City should be in by end of week. Then we got, State Historic Preservation Office. I've got most of that drafted. I've reached out to them like usual, you never hear back from them. That is tied into the NEPA thing, so we can't get the NEPA finalized till they say basically that's okay out there from a historical preservation standpoint. Those are all the big things that are going, just generally speaking, stormwater basin is a depression. We're trying to minimize it just because it takes away school grounds. We're looking at a bunch of options, but right now the best place that Eric's laid out on our plan is kind of north of the solar panels, heading out towards the street. If we could do that, there may be some sort of like vegetated depression. We actually have to meet the city's landscape requirements on the conditional use permit. They're crazy. None of them are applicable. I mean, they're crazy from the standpoint of applying that to a school ground, 25% vegetation or something, none of that works. So I haven't figured out our exact thing, but having some vegetation out there on the north side of the panels feels like a good half step and, provide some drainage and, what have you, but we're able to kind of, best concept is if we can do that and drain it out towards ODOT's land, that would be ideal. It infiltrates so fast, it's best case.
Can I ask a quick question before we transition?
Yeah.
You mentioned this, but I didn't hear, why is it that we need a conditional use permit?
Everything needs a conditional use permit. They literally set up their statute, as best I can tell, where if you were to build a school in a land zone for public, you would need a conditional use.
So it's because of the.
Add on, like, it's just the way the code's written. They told us that, and I'm like, no way. And then I went through it again. I'm like, wow, that is what they meant. That's nuts.
Okay.
But
Good to know.
which means it has to go to the city council, which means it has to get noticed.
Yeah.
They're scheduling us on our May meeting. That was kind of assuming we'd have the permits in this week. I hope we can still make that. I'm making it easy for them, but
Okay.
we'll see.
Okay, thank you. Tiff, did you have something?
No, well, no, kind of, but it's not, since we have a lot, I was just gonna ask like how deep the depression has to go on the north side, and I love that location for it, but I'm thinking of the tree I also love in the corner and how that could affect its roots.
Well, and it's good. Let's note the tree, cause like
Yeah.
right now, if you see where the panels is,
Yeah.
there's a couple of those outside branches
Yeah.
would have to go. Like the tree would stay. That's kind of been the goal and
Yeah.
setting that thing back, but, now we could move it a little further. We got like a few more feet where we could move it further south. It starts to feel pretty tight to that retaining wall.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm open to any thoughts on the structure itself, its size, its location, whatever. But where I come up on the city of stormwaters, Portland stuff, it's like a 5-foot deep depression, right? So that doesn't feel, that's why I'm going for
Yeah.
what's behind door. And John Grimm, who is the city's former engineer, we talked to tonight, we were brainstorming about potential like underground retention, infiltration things. It could even have grass over it. Again, that's kind of a hot discussion. I wish I could tell you more, but I'm a 5-foot deep thing that's 1,000 feet in square feet just seems bonkers to me. So,
Yeah. Great.
Would any kind of water catchment with storage tank make any sense, or there's not even room for it?
It's just so, well, you get two things. You got a mismatch of when you generate the rain to generate three things. One, met out there with the excavator the other day, he's thinking that there's hard pan underneath. So, and it's not that deep. So we wanna go out, hoping next week, we're gonna do some test pits to try to see where we really hitting hard pan. We've got very different like excavation costs. If there's hard pan that we need to jackhammer through, we're looking at about 8 major posts, very substantial concrete footings, very substantial, like 6 feet tall by, 4 feet wide, 4 feet wide. But well, they have two different types. Two are really deep, 4 feet wide and like 12 feet deep. Others are they're squatter, but they're bigger. Either way, it's like 100 cubic yard concrete, estimated out like 100 cubic yards of concrete. It's substantial. It's big.
It's not gonna blow away.
Not gonna blow away. That's what they're designed for. But I mean, and that'd be true if it was a metal building. It would just be spread out a little bit more. These are kind of more concentrated. But it's substantial and getting down through hard pan, like, I just tell you, it's something we have to know before we figure this out, because the pricing is totally different. Like, you gotta sit out there with a jackhammer and do it. I mean, Dan's good for a few days of volunteering.
Have that in me.
It's not fun.
Okay. What were you gonna share?
I don't have a plug-in today, but I think that it's just, I've been kind of shifting towards like visualization, so more just providing Brent with some of the background for the jurisdiction submission. So there's not a whole lot from a visualization update to the board, but I think, as we get more and more refined, again, just confirming structure size and requirements, I think always, again, just for everyone to kind of get on board with, because I think it just, as we're submitting things, the land use and jurisdictions, we just want to make sure that footprint is feeling right to everyone. And Michelle has given us some feedback on both like the structure, location and layout, adjacencies. I will say one just site constraint that we've dealt with is just existing survey pre that sort of larger rock wall. So I think one thing just to note is one thing in the update, again, I'm kind of eyeing this. We took some loose dimensions, but I'm sort of showing that rock wall a little bit further projected to the north. So it just does show like the extent, of that enclosure relative to the rock wall. And like there likely is some potential, excavation work that would be required kind of as those two interface. But I think I think a priority has been to obviously save and protect that heritage tree. And I think that sort of set the layout and location of the structure. But again, it's, if we want to review, overall building dimensions and, again, I was more as just a programmatic requirement or as something to sort of design around. I was utilizing that junior high school basketball court, but if that's not the priority of the board and the school, obviously there's opportunity for the structure to reduce in size, but then again, yet we're also reducing solar footprint and everything like that. So, but again, just wanted to confirm those sort of space planning dimensions with the group.
Can you touch base for a second? Maybe just summarize, like understand one thing, like this goes to a little bit of grading. We gotta do a grading plan, a stormwater plan, and erosion control plan, which I'm working on, and you'll all see them at some point. But what we're basically looking at doing is up on the more southern part of the site, is dropping it by somewhere around 2, and kind of in that far north, the southeast corner of the field, it's almost down to 3 feet, where you're dropping that top part, you're bringing all the fill out to the north side. The whole idea is we keep it fill neutral. It still's gonna have a grade like you want it to keep the fields dry. We're targeting for, like right now, the fields are somewhere at about like a 4% grade going north. And we're trying to take that down to like about 1.75 or so grade. So the idea is there's still gonna be a grade, but it's gonna be less. It's gonna be like within the acceptable realm for soccer fields and ball courts. But we're dropping that down. So where you have that hill coming down right now, the idea is that about 4 or 5 feet off where that retaining wall is now, we would have a more marked kind of slope, like you gotta get rid of grade somewhere. So that's where we get rid of grades, where we get our dirt to level out the rest of the thing. And you also have something like an area that like kids could sit on, it's like a little bit of a, a slope, but there'd be this flat area to reserve the retaining wall and then a slope coming down. It is a little bit of a art as much of a science and figuring out how you grade that thing. Few features just to be aware of. Eric, I thought I had a good idea of bringing steps down, like so that you would come down off the existing higher grade near the basketball court into the solar area by kind of a series of steps instead of a sharp retaining wall. There may be some retaining wall as well. Like we're gonna have to have some retaining wall, right? Your 3-foot grade change, you need something to break that. But instead of extending the rocks more, maybe it's stairs, and Michelle brought up like having like a concrete wall, and stairs down the middle. And then the other piece, this is just kind of all very recent, like, the grade on the school playground is like about 1.5 feet higher than it is down on the middle school. We'd be dropping down the one, and there is a little retaining wall there already. We may want to keep it, we may want to get rid of it. I think, it may still be a functional little break, but one idea would be to kind of try to reroute the access between those two so that it goes underneath the solar panels. You've got a more gradual, more friendly grade, which goes down to the, which goes to middle school. So,
And more than likely, and I've put it down.
more than what?
So more than likely, the fence that goes in between
Oh,
the
yeah.
middle school and that, will probably come out. And that actually, because I hear the middle school a lot, like, hey, we feel like we're not part of the campus, that actually will increase the campus, the size of the campus, the feel of it. So the middle schoolers, they can use that, we can use that, it will be more shared. It's not needed like it was, because I think it was built, that this fence was done prior to moving that, and now that it just makes us all one campus that way too, so. Anyway, and then we'll just save the panels like we have for repairs and things like that, so it's not like it's wasted or anything. The gate will, down to the gate will more than likely remain, but then from the gate down will probably come out. Or the gate for the easement, so. So what you're talking about is that easement, that little wall where the easement is, might not be there. Or might be partial. No.
Going back to the comment about, or the question about sizing, it seems like there'll be, a cost benefit analysis there on if we try to attain a certain dimension, that maybe it costs a lot more versus what will fit in the space with the tree and the slope. So to me, I don't know if it really matters what the exact dimensions are of the inside, as long as there's enough room for kids to play. There are various kinds of courts that we could try and aim for, but I don't know if those are really realistic given our constraints. What we have, between the tree and the slope. So I'd rather have it work than trying to dig deeper in and cause more problems on the south side, or push out further on the tree and have this problem with this tree constantly. That does need to be pruned anyway, but.
How do others feel about that as far as the sizing goes?
Like, it's not it's not regulation, we're not having like
Right,
scholastic,
right.
like, we're not having,
tournament or something.
yeah, like, it's for the community to use and for fun. A space to have outdoor class or outdoor meals or whatever the school wants to use it for. So to me, I'm not set on it being a certain dimension, other than what's sufficient for the space and keeping the, still being able to be used, obviously.
And we're a little bit like, just the structure is kind of designed around your solar panel. And so there's the added interesting layer of trying to find BABA compliant solar panels that are in they like the bigger format. It is like this chicken and the egg thing where we're trying to design solar panels and suppliers and not getting them right now, not BABA compliant. We've gone, email chain is impressive, but So all these things are, we've got really great response from the rack. From everything we've been able to find, there's not another rack or company that's comparable. One big thing, what we've had a trouble finding a contractor who is gonna be able to do this all under them. The contractors that the rack company provided are simply Portland solar installers who are gonna do the same. They're gonna wanna buy all the panels and 100% markup and everything else like that. It's just not gonna financially, I don't just see how it could potentially work, given the quotes that we've got already. And the fact you can get the solar panels, basically at cost. So, what I have talked to Tito about with Land Electric, we would still need to put out an RFP, but I've said, hey, would you be willing to essentially take this on? And I've talked to, and then have essentially him play more of the contractor role. Electricians all the time work with, concrete. It's basically concrete and excavation. I've told him I'd be happy to help do it. I've talked to Matt a little about whether he might be able to help as well from that management side. And that we kind of have like the get it done strategy. So we will have to put it out for RFP, but my thought is right now we put it out for RFP. We have pretty prescribed thing on what we want. We want these racks. We want this solar system, etc. What we know can work and what we can get Baba to do. So that's something, we need to, as soon as we have the design from the engineering side, which is, that's something that would go really quick. So any thoughts or feedback on that? We already have board permission, but that's kind of just more like a update if that.
That seems to play more into that, like, those are gonna determine the size really, right? The size of the panels we can get and the needs of the rack company and that kind of stuff, so within a number of, a few feet here and there, or whatever that is, so. Yeah, I just want to emphasize, like, the size exactly doesn't have to fit the junior basketball court, whatever it was gonna be, to me at least, is not that critical.
Does anybody have a different perspective on that? Or something else, something you'd like to share? I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, the size feels fine out there walking it, but also if it's gonna create like dance, I just agree, like a lot more problems and issues to deal with on the south side or the tree, then maybe it doesn't have to be that big or whatever. I don't, I'm flexible.
The structural system is really flexible. I mean, it's really made to be sized, for obviously variable panels, and frankly, it's like, it can scale, so.
You can't go, you can unplug that.
I wasn't quite tracking, so are we having a hard time finding solar panels that will work with this rack that we can get through DOE?
Right now, the whole world is rushing to get commercial scale big solar panels because of the expiring tax credits. So they are in tight competition for summer. So that is, that's and then but there's the added problem of just finding ones that are BABA compliant. It's been extremely, there was a BABA waiver. It expired in December for solar panels and they haven't renewed it yet. So it is a challenge. I've been kind of operating under the idea we can get BABA panels. I was told you can get BABA inverters too. And then, they just don't work when you get down into the nitty gritty, which is where we are on the design. It's
Yeah. So do you, that's nice, Eric. Do you see like a potential path forward on the solar panels?
I am optimistic that we're gonna find some solar panels that will work in there.
Just because you're an optimistic guy or? 'cause
No, I mean, we have some that we know we can get, which is the smaller they're the smaller panels. They're great panels. We use them all the time. They're just smaller. They're gonna increase the rack cost. But I also think that I'm also patient, and if we can get the big racks in and do the heavy construction, excavation and concrete work, and we can get that done in summer, and if we've got to wait to get the right panels that are a cost we can afford, and we get DOE to extend our grant and everything else,
Yeah.
I see a couple pathways we can get there. I just, and I also, if we've got to go outside our supplier and I got to go, drive them down from Canada or whatever we gotta do, like, there's creative ways to, get stuff, I think.
This is a very layman's understanding of just the implication of the panel, so everyone can kind of see, like, any one of these represent, you can kind of see the breakdown of like a single solar panel, right? So that's one panel. The whole system is set up on the module, so let's just say, for example, this is 48 by 30. Again, I'm not sure what we're targeting, but if the panels are larger, you basically, I'm gonna call these the mullions for it, those are able to increase. So technically you have less structure. And the same is true with kind of the purlins. So it's like the way the system works is you have the structural frame, which I'm kind of highlighting now, is that. And I guess to everyone's kind of discussion about the bay to base spacing has the ability to flex. So just to kind of oscillate between the idea of a basketball court, and I know I love basketball, but I'm not really trying to like force that as priority. It's just, as a designer, it's helpful to say, okay, like I'm designing to something.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And it's especially, and it's not just the size of it, it's the height. So in athletic function, knowing that we want it to functionally like support that as a program,
Yeah.
you define like what that minimum height of the structure is. But if that's not the priority of the board and the school, again, the structure has the ability, it's not short, you can bring it down. So, I mean, it's just, I'm trying to both like say, like, we're getting to the point where we need to like be on a focused, kind of, laser focused to get in for the city, but at the same time, if it's not feeling right, we definitely have time to pivot. But, again, just using this as an example, this court, I believe, is 42 by 73. And I guess for me, the constraint is the structure, but the court has the ability to sort of span in and out. Like, so one thing that I've heard from Michelle, and it's just the overall size of it. So in previous iterations, this structural bay was larger. It was like 27.6. And I guess what I'm hearing and what I'm understanding is more time spent on site is I'm kind of tightening down the structural frame in the north-south perspective, and they can go further. This 25 is totally, I'm setting that. So like this bay, that's like kind of maxing it out. We could get more to 24 or 23, which basically means like you're losing 6 feet of the overall structure, but the system basically allows you to cantilever up to 6 feet in every direction. So it's like as the structural bay reduces, the overall length of the structure. I'd probably say like in a previous iteration, this is probably more like 95. So like I think that's what you're seeing is like we're kind of ratcheting down the building a little bit. And then again, it's just best practice. If you have these structural columns and you have kids playing basketball, for example, or anything, you want some clearance around that. But if the idea is we just want foursquare and maybe there's a pickleball court and there's a half court and it's not like competition, like I'm a little worried about that sort of like having a game line and then like 30 inches to a column. That's like something that gives me some pause as a parent and a designer. So, I like, Michelle has probably challenged me a couple of times to like, hey, can we reduce this 49? And the answer is yes. If, again, it's like if we're sort of relaxing some of those like programmatic requirements. So, if the idea is we want this thing to kind of both on site kind of, tighten the belt a little bit, we can shrink the overall length of it and the overall width of it. And I think the reality is these frames are super, like we can set those and there'll be a rational grid, but ultimately there's two layers of sort of lattice structure that kind of span either way. So they just sit there and they'll work with the panel. So I think to Brent's point, you know, it's a very modular system. Like something's gonna work. If we're gonna say that our overall structure is this, and we kind of want these overhangs, it's like if we're able to accept plus or minus 6 inches, like whatever panel is there, it's gonna work out. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So basically, like that's kind of how I've been operating was, and then the hardscape, like this is like whatever that surface is, you know, generally aligns with that roof structure. But again, like there's an opportunity to decouple and pull in that actual footprint. You know, I think I'm showing yet again like a 5-foot offset beyond like where the structural line is. But there's nothing saying like if you wanted more grass and less hardscape, like there's nothing saying we couldn't pull these things in.
Great. Adelia had something.
Yeah, thinking just back in previous meetings and just looking at this overall, I think my perspective on this is maybe if we just keep half the court and then the rest can be as flexible. That way we still have basketball in there, which is I do know it's a sport that at least middle schoolers really appreciate having. And I think it's things they need. But it would also allow for this, like what Dan has been mentioning, allowing to be able to flex that as needed and not overcomplicate the structure itself.
And the discussions I've had with Brent and Michelle is just because again, we're trying to show this as a racking system primarily, you know, but occupied. I mean, I think this is the thing, like I think in all the plans that we're sort of putting out towards the jurisdiction, I've actually pulled all the striping. Like I know that's in concept, I've been using that, but again, it's not like apparent. I've heard that has not been decided by the board. We don't have direction exactly on that. So I think what I think is important in both what we put to the jurisdiction and also these drawings are gonna go to the community. And I think as an architect, you have to show a clear communication of the use, you know, and I think like we can't just say this is a mechanical space,
Right.
you know, it's like we need to show that there's is gonna be occupied by students. So I think even in like, I think my current site plans, you know,
and
believe.
I think that's where I was trying to lead with this is, I know we haven't decided, but like the sign point, just allowing maybe an initial plan of this is the use, just thinking back, like Julia mentioned it in the previous meeting as well, is being a little bit more inclusive for those that might not want to be, and they like and maybe a little bit more of individual or smaller group size sports like racking things that can happen in there.
And what, like, you know, what I think there was a meeting when we all talked, and I realized that there's lots of good thoughts about how to actually use the place. That at least what I pulled out of the lab, I don't know, a couple board meetings ago, was design it so that you kind of have like maximum flexibility, and then let's sit down and have that conversation where we're really like, all right, but like, you know, well, you know, so that is what, you know, like Eric said, drives the height, whether it's pickleball or basketball court or, you know, half of one and outdoor classroom. I think it's just, there's such a good, thoughtful discussion that can happen around that. It doesn't jive with our time. Like it could totally get us off track on the timeline. So,
but it is important for some of the design work that you're doing.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And even just for the grading too, this cut fill balance, you know, again, this is a futsal pitch, is something I've just kind of put out there. The board, again, I think people loved it in concept, but like ultimately we are gonna have to define what is the extent of the field level. You know, so I think like I'm utilizing this footprint of what I'm showing in plans, but at some point it's like, it's helpful to get obviously board buy-in and acknowledgement on sort of the design parameters.
Yeah, and it'd be great also to involve like some of the middle schoolers and different community members in that conversation of how we want to really utilize that space. But what I think I'm hearing from you right now is that in the near future,
With the jurisdiction submission, as Brett was saying,
you need some dimensions.
Or at least just confirmation.
And we've called it covered play area, right? And that kind of, to me, it hits the use. Like it's what we need. Eric had a good point the other day, like we gotta tell the city, like there's a use. Yeah, it's not just like a, you know. I've also kind of just practically thinking from a funding side, I wanna be, you know, I think we have some benefits of being clear, like even if we weren't gonna use it for anything, we still, like, we need to preserve some play area, and that should be a cost that comes with the cost of doing the solar panels, right? This isn't just some out in the middle of nowhere, it's a playground, we need it elevated, we need to preserve that space. But I think we have some incentives not to be like, and you're developing a basketball court or this or that, no, just a covered play area with a hard surface, which is really what you need if you're gonna shade the thing out, you know?
Okay, Dan has something, and then we probably should move on pretty soon. Oh, Marie, I'm so sorry, Marie first, and then
Go
you.
ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna suggest that, we are maybe considering a special session for our board assessment. And I wonder if maybe we could consider, or if folks could try to refine the idea by then, because we're 7 agenda items in, and we got 8 more to go.
Yeah.
It's not usually my style to. But I wonder if,
Yeah, that might be a good opportunity.
if we could, when we get to that item,
Yeah,
try to fit it in.
the lines and things like that.
What is the idea? The ideas, the concept.
Yeah. Yeah,
To give.
as long as it doesn't hinder the ability to put it in this week, the plans.
Maybe I missed what,
Marie's suggesting that since we're going to likely have a special session for another topic in the near future, that we can pick up this conversation at that point. But we wanna get
I'll
you what you need.
confess, like, I'm really interested in that. I think Eric is, there's no more capacity, look, I think being able to focus right now on like getting the structure done and then starting the conversation
Okay.
makes my head not explode.
You
Because,
don't want your head to explode.
no, I know, I just, it feels like, I know between us and, you know, just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just really tired.
That's
I-
okay,
It
that's
does
okay.
kind
We're all
of,
gonna
it
keep
feels like a
posted.
lot unless we have to do it now, cause we're gonna have, like, for the next couple months, this is pretty intense. stuff.
Yeah, we don't have to, what it sounds like we need to figure out in the near future in order for you to get the documents to the city and move forward with the jurisdiction stuff is size of the facility. What I'm hearing today from the board is that we're not stuck on the middle school basketball court size, and we want to maintain optimal flexibility. So if it means that you need to shrink down the footprint by, you know, X amount of feet in order to make the bioswale drainage happen and the transition from the higher elevation to the court, A-okay with us.
And to save the tree.
And to save the tree.
And I mean, I gotta tell you.
And we still want to like be able to have basketball down there or have pickleball or whatever. So keeping the height where you have it in order to allow that flexibility, I think is also a good idea.
And the soccer field.
And the
Where,
soccer.
you know, the other
Right.
thing is, like, we've got the whole other thing, which will come soon, but it's not here yet till the engineer's there, and that's cost, right?
Yeah,
Like, we may have to shrink this thing
true that.
based on cost,
Right.
but it makes sense
Right.
to, I think, start with your big thing, that's what we go in for permitting. We don't run into any problems if we had
If
to
we
for
shrink.
cost shrink it. You can't make it any bigger if you're already going in, you know, like,
Yeah.
so I feel like
So
until
on
we get
that
to the cost thing, if
yeah.
folks are generally okay with that as a maximum,
Yeah.
and we've gotta shrink it for solar availability
Yeah.
or cost or whatever, then we can have that, if that makes sense to folks.
Yeah, Dan, you had something.
No, I think we're good, we talked about it.
Okay, awesome. I think it looks absolutely wonderful, and I hope it looks like that when it's
Yeah, I
done.
really appreciate
And
this
the
rendering.
color looks really nice. I know.
You
I
picked
don't
out
like
a-
the
Yeah, very cool.
Well, can you tell me what color to make this?
Yeah.
I was just-
I think my better hat has a particular color on.
That's right. Eric, do you feel comfortable with this level of detail from us?
No,
right
no,
now?
no, I just, as I say, I don't wanna be getting ahead of my skis, but I also think like that as with what Brett is requesting in the backup I provide him, I just wanna make sure that you know, what we're putting forth, what becomes a publicly, you know, available plan is aligning with board direction.
And I just wanna say, I don't know how we'd be doing any of this without, cause, you know, it makes everything look great.
Yeah, it looks great and it's awesome. It'll be exciting to put it in front of the public.
But I mean, it is, I mean, like, this is the requirement, and like, again, Brent and I were out there with tapes, we're trying to measure this stuff, and like, you know, but again, I'm sort of, it's a little bit whack of the thumb, so.
Can you zoom in on that section that would be the
Yeah.
transition?
And at some point, we need a big, kid stamped, like hand stamped, thank you for Eric's
Yeah.
firm. We met with some of their principals the other day and, they've been very generous with Eric's time and Eric's been even more generous with his own, so.
Yeah.
Optus was the crew that helps with the Dallas school.
Okay.
Plan, and they're amazing.
Oh, cool.
So my only point I was gonna say on this side is this transition, if it becomes an issue, could also be steps that are an outside classroom.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That-
So
yes.
steps coming
We talked
down,
about-
could
yeah,
be
that-
like an auditorium style.
Yeah.
Love what
Six.
James said.
That-
James is like, let's just get the structure down and then we can figure out the,
Everything else.
everything out. But once you
Right.
get the feeling of the structure,
Mhm.
then that transition
Mhm.
will probably come to us.
Yep.
That, I
At
like
least
that
to
right
take
there.
it.
Yeah, it'll come to all of, no, I mean, I like, yeah.
I totally agree that like we ought to think about this as, put a plan on paper, get it approved.
Yeah.
And
And then keep going.
We
use
can work
some,
on that stuff.
And this
Yeah,
is like crew,
these are
this is like
detailed.
Eric, we're doing it at 11 o'clock last night.
Right.
Always given a lot of notice before these board meetings, I have to put them every day.
I can even.
I know I caught you off guard this weekend, didn't I? I saw on Saturday, I was like, are you coming?
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Really cool.
thank you guys,
Thank you.
thanks a lot.
Thank you guys.
Okay, cool. Great. So then, totally shifting gears.
I know.
Oh, wait, you can come stand right here. I thought we were going to the,
Sarah Grace
negotiations, but we have. Sarah
No,
Grace.
that's Sarah Grace.
It is shifting gears, but it's a gentler shift.
Yes, it's not as, mine's color coded.
Oh.
I have a crick in my neck.
Bye, Eric, bye, Brett, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, so this is the NWEA math review mid-year.
Yes, so,
Can we,
You make that bigger, like, on your
absolutely.
screen, yeah. No.
well, actually, also, we should share screen with Zoom.
Is that,
Are you signed into Zoom?
I have it somewhere.
It, sorry, that
That's
was,
okay.
if it's not easy, you could email it to me and I could share screen.
Well, it's not a presentation, it's a,
The math one graph.
it's, yeah, it's one of the apps.
Okay,
Um,
can I email you a link?
that would be lovely.
Okay. Cause I have it
I
now.
know I've gotten it before, but
Nope, so have I,
there's a
but,
lot of Zoom.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just recently, finished because the middle schoolers, why don't you throw some out here?
She getting the candy?
She's getting chocolate.
Okay, well, maybe like. Come back for.
Time for the M&Ms.
Oh, I had that whole basket full and those
I
middle
know
school
they
girls
did.
had found it and so I'll go in there and it's just
Pretty
gone.
That's on that, like that.
Better them than you. Better, that's what I feel about
They're like-
myself. You're better them than me.
They're like,
Okay, it's concentration day.
Do I need a, my computer's muted.
Dark, baby.
You can stay muted, that's great for you to stay muted. You'll just be able to share screen, so folks online.
Guys, you want any?
I'm okay, thank you.
The black tea and the chocolate.
You want it quick, but I don't, quick.
Awesome. Thank you, Robin. Okay, Robin will let you in.
Camera off.
This doorbell thing.
Cool, thank you.
Okay. No. So just some info on math. We used iReady Diagnostics for several years. We're in like a 6-year adoption with iReady, but last year we decided to move. iReady is our math curriculum. We decided to move from using them as our testing to math. What you're going to see is just 2 little data sets. Math is really helpful, and Michelle can maybe share on this because she's used it in the past for a long period of time, but it looks a lot better when you've taken it for several times. We have 2 sets of data, that's it. So a lot of this might not be that pretty, but it's also because we haven't used this for the past 5 years, like most schools have. There's millions of kids throughout the nation that use MAP as their data assessment 3 times a year. And so what you're going to see is how our school averages in the norm of other kids in the nation. So I'm going to start with math because that's actually where our scores are the lowest, and we're going to work our way up. So there's 3 scores that you're going to see. The achievement for fall is where we landed for math as a whole school to begin the year. So 37th percentile. We have now moved up to the 43rd percentile for math. And so really putting a focus on increasing kids in the green and the blue, like pushing kids out of one area and moving them into the next. But my favorite piece to focus on is the growth. So we are ranked 51st percentile as within the nation's norms for growth. So that's how much we grew. And if you look over here, the number of students is 135. That is low because K1 does not take this. They will next year, now that it's a requirement from the state. So they can't just use dibbles, they will be on this. But this only gives growth scores for students that took it in the beginning of the year and the middle of the year. Me, for example, I've had so many kids in and out of my classroom that a lot of their scores, they might have done really well at the beginning of the year and then they were unenrolled. And then maybe I have new students. So that's why that number is so low. Because it's only if they took it in the middle or at the beginning in the middle. I think these will look a lot prettier at the end of the year, but if we could go through some of them. So for math down here, a lot slower. You can look by grade level, where second performed in math is where they are in their growth. So 59th and 54th for 2-3 in growth. Jumping from 33rd percentile to 40th, 55th to 53rd. This is 4-5. So our growth is great in math. But like I teach 4th grade math, that's great growth, but we're still like, if you look at my achievement, it's rough looking. So I think focusing on the growth, like where kids are at when they come to see us versus when they leave. And when you look at the reading scores, it's really cool, especially being multi-age, that the kids that leave in 3rd grade are much higher. And the kids that leave us in 5th grade, their scores are much higher. And I think it's because they built that rapport, they built that relationship, they understand our teaching style. And anyway, so, and then this is
So Grace, really quick, just so I can track all the way, you already said this, but for that achievement line, like we're grade 4, it's 44th. What is that 44th percentile of what?
That is where we are averaging in the mean or the norm in the country. So this is based off of millions of other kids. If you lined up 100 kids randomly, we are ranked 44th out of those 100. So obviously we want to be on the like more towards the 60th, 70th percentile, but that's where we're ranked. So like 4th grade math for me, that's where I teach. We jumped from 33rd to 44th. 44th sounds pretty low, but our growth is really high. And so those kids are moving, and that's what NWEA has RIT scores. So it's really great for multi-age because it doesn't base kids on grade level necessarily. It grades them on what their RIT
point improvement was. So it's tough because we only have 2 points at the beginning of the year and now. Usually you have like 3 or 4 years to look at and you're like, oh, this year they made 7 points, this year they made 12 points. K through 2, an average RIT score growth is 15 to 20 points. 3 through 5, it's 5 to 8 points. And then middle school, it's an average of 3 to 5 points. So as you grow, you make less points in the RIT score growth trajectory. And so the growth, I think, is what we should really focus on, because yes, this is obviously not good, ranking that. Oregon also, unfortunately, has lower standardized expectations than most other states in the country. So that is also, yes, why we are ranked so low is like if you go to Texas or you go to Arizona, their expectation for the green level is much higher than what Oregon would consider us as passing. So that's why this comparison is so low, because Oregon sets us there. So it's not necessarily a blame, but it's like to explain why this looks a little rough. That's one of the reasons.
Marie, did you have a question? No.
But just, so like in 4th or 5th grade, we're hoping for 5 points by Brit. So if you look at yours, it was, I'm just using 5th grade because I can see it, 33, you were hoping that would have gone to at least 38. You guys went to 40, correct?
Yes, but that's not, the RIT score growth is
Oh, that's
different than
the
the
percentage, okay.
Yes.
Sorry,
So
okay.
that's like individual student, like my 4th and 5th graders, I hope that by the end of the year, they've made at least 8 points of growth from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And so it varies. Some kids are gonna make way more than that. Some kids are gonna make less than that, but it helps, especially as those kids move into middle school next year. Those teachers can see, well, they made 2 points of growth last year with you. We need to talk, like, we need to have another conversation because they're not making progress. Go for it.
Yeah, I guess I did have a question, because the 2-3 went from, it went down.
Yeah,
And
that's
you
right.
mentioned that there was,
Because
this system, when.
So there's the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and the end of the year, and so what they're hoping for adjusts, right? Yeah, so.
And I guess my question, you had mentioned at the beginning of the presentation that you see changes based on kids leaving. Is that, do you think that is what?
Well, that reflects the number. So my 4th grade class, at the beginning of the year, I had 27 students in my class. Several of those kids have left. We've filled those spots, but those kids aren't necessarily on this because they didn't take the beginning of the year. So this is just a growth. I can show you just these scores, like the achievement scores, but I think the growth is really important because it's where are the kids at when they get to us, and are they making growth in the 2 years that they're with us? And I think that's really important in multi-age, because that's the whole reason we do this is to have them for 2 years to build that relationship. And this is showing that it does work. When you see the reading scores, that's the eye opener for me, is that 3rd grade and 5th grade are the highest with achievement more than 2nd and 4th. Personally, I think it's multi-age, but that's my biased opinion.
Or professional opinion.
Yeah. Sorry.
Some stuff we don't know.
And then just to show you middle schools in math, and then I can jump over to science real quick.
Let's just like call that out real quick. You're moving fast, but
Oh,
it was like
I
8th
know your
grade.
time is precious.
Well,
No, this
I
is
wanna see this
from-
though.
Okay,
yeah.
but I was like,
Yeah.
I was getting nervous because I was like.
8th grade is achievement.
sorry,
for
I don't know
math.
how long.
Flat. You got as long as it takes.
So I think something to think about is that if the growth number is not at a number that the school wants to consider like a good target, that's where you think, what different things do we need to do? What interventions, what's the curriculum, what's the, small group instruction? Those are the types of questions you want to ask to make sure, because if 8th grade, 31st percentile at the beginning of the year, still 31st, 43rd percent on growth. Sorry, it refreshes every few minutes.
Down, great, but go ahead.
And I keep trying to move it, I can't.
I know, I
Can't move it.
So that's the question of,
So it's the 14, the number of students.
yeah, so the
Yeah.
number on the side here, and I know eighth grade
So
has
I was
had,
just gonna say, so my question there is, is it the current number of students in the grade?
the number 14 is only who
How
tested
many
at the
kids?
beginning and who then again tested the middle of the year.
Which is because we only have 14 eighth graders, so that must be that.
Yeah.
And we haven't had any new eighth graders come in.
Well,
No,
I know one of the 8th graders never did complete this thing.
but, it's definitely something to think about, and I know Michelle and I have talked about, we're coming to the end of our iReady adoption here in the next year. Or next year, I believe is our last year with iReady, and so it's getting on the same board. I think the same discussion needs to happen in what we're doing in our reading curriculum, because of right now, a lot of teachers are doing a lot of different things. And I think if you have the same curriculum that everybody's using with the same language, the same verbiage, the same type of textbooks that the kids are getting, like this, the same vocabulary type of discussion with kids, not necessarily following it strategically, but everybody has the same type of materials. I think that might be a missing piece that's the next step in this, because when you see the reading scores, it's very similar to this. And that might be like, okay, now we're coming at the end of benchmark. Can we find a reading adoption that we do K through 8? Because right now we don't have one. We don't, we have a math curriculum K through 8, but not everybody uses it. And so can we find something that everybody likes, everybody wants to use, that it agrees with the science of reading, but it also works for middle school? And so, there's a lot of different factors that I think could help improve these scores big time, but.
And sometimes it might not be K8 because like science.
Yeah.
We did K2
yeah.
and we did, or K3 and we did 4-8 because it just seemed better for that. But they also are all from the same company, so they do use a lot of the same
They
stuff.
So there's
yeah.
consistency.
Yeah.
Dan has something to add.
On, going back to that, getting the curriculum to be uniform, is there agreement through the staff that we have something we want to work on, and that may be something that we should look at?
I think there's a lot of different opinions on curriculum, and it's been a touchy subject. Like, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to step into my role, is that I thought this is a huge missing piece at our school, and it's gotten better, especially now that we do standards-based grading. That has really improved. This is going to standards-based as well. For, I think it'll be done by our next test, so we'll be able to use that and really see, okay, what standards are kids missing. But from a curriculum aspect, we have very strong opinions at our school, which is a good thing, because that means teachers are really good at what they're passionate about. However, we're all doing something different. What Anna Marie and I are doing is different than middle school, and what we're doing is different than K1. And it's not that we all need to be doing the same thing, but if we all used the same materials, the kids, when they come to us, for example, will have known, if I say go grab your consumable, they're gonna know what that is. Right now, we say that and they don't know. And it's not saying that K1 and 2, 3 are not doing great things, because they are, but it's different. And so if we all found something that we cohesively agreed on, then Margaret or Miss Elkin, who does ELD lessons, can use that same curriculum. Miss Baker, that does reading intervention, can use it. The resource room can use it. If we're all using it, I think that's a big piece that we need to really think about moving into these new adoptions. And Michelle and I have talked about, and Jen, Wit and Wisdom, which is what the Dalles is using. We're North Wasco. Hood River's got some great materials. But just getting all the teachers on the same page.
It makes it easier for parents too. Like, if it's consistent, then we can follow along and help out in an easier way versus trying to learn and do something different every time.
I'd also be really interested to see, like, you know, there's a lot of, at least press out there right now on which schools, which states are seeing growth in their reading and math. And I would be curious to see, like, on you know, nationwide, what curriculum is performing well and what's not.
The curriculum that, I can just speak because I use this. The curriculum that Amory and I are using is one of the top curriculums in the nation, is phenomenal to us. There are other people don't agree with that, but I think presenting that would be great. Wit and Wisdom is like the creme de la creme of reading curriculum. It's also the most expensive, but one of our teachers piloted it, and she's piloted it. Yeah,
Are you talking about middle school?
Yes, but she said it was very difficult because the kids did not use it in years prior.
Sure.
To pop that into what they're doing in middle school was extremely challenging because they didn't know the verbiage, because they'd never seen these materials before. They didn't know and they didn't build upon those concepts.
Yeah.
And so it's getting an idea of what can we all agree on, but not only that, are we all going to use?
Yeah, and how do you make the transition into the new curriculum so that it makes sense for everyone?
Yeah.
I have a question. Oh, sorry.
Go for it, Gal.
If we're looking at this and say grade 7, and we see that there's 20 kids that were graded and 35 of them are in the red, does that mean that we hold back 7 students? I'm just curious, like, is that what we do every year or?
What did she say? I'm sorry.
We missed you. Does that mean what?
Oh, sorry. So if it's 20, 35% of those kids is 7 kids that are potentially getting held back every year. Is that what's happening?
They're not getting
No.
held back.
They're just not.
Yeah,
Well,
but
they're not progressing.
they're not progressing.
adequately.
Yeah.
They're not making adequate progress.
They're within the 1st to 20th percentile of the national average. Actually, the national median.
Mhm.
So McKenna, one of
So
the
how
big
many kids do we hold back?
We
Kids
don't
get
hold
held
kids back. So, that is not, it's not research, when you research all of that, unless you're holding kids back in kindergarten, 1st grade, anything above that, it doesn't actually, yeah.
It's more detrimental than
Yeah,
beneficial.
so what I do wanna say is, the purpose of this information, and they, and at our last PLC meeting, the teachers looked at the data, and the thing is like, now that you have this data, what are you gonna do with it?
Mhm.
And so we looked at it like here, the nice thing is like, hey, we have these set of kids that need a little bit more support. We need to figure out like how to get to those kids. So it's really taking this data and identifying those kids, those 30, those 7 kids, plus I'm thinking of kids in orange and all that, like how are you adjusting how you're teaching? Are you teaching are you going too fast through the curriculum? Do you need to be deeper in the curriculum? Do you need some more like one-on-one or assistance on that? Like, how are you going to address those kids that are being identified? On the flip side, those kids that are in blue, what are we doing for those kids? We need to be pushing along. So our hope is next year, like taking this data and using that. So, and get used to this because this is the one that we used for the interim that we have to do for the state of Oregon. And so they have to take this 3 times and we'll be using this data a lot.
Yeah, good. Okay, we'll get familiar.
Yeah.
So maybe we can go on to reading.
Yeah.
Sure. Do you have one more thing?
Oh, no, I would just, I mean, if folks are willing, to just, I guess my question to everyone, for whoever wants to, if people are interested in having a discussion about this, if not, it's okay. I just wonder, from everyone's professional opinion, how do we get the kids to like 75% to 90 or 80 to 90? Because I think they're capable, and I'm just wondering.
It's really hard when you have what's our attendance rate? 60?
It's 68% regular attendance.
Yeah, so I think that is like, I appreciate the whole governor's executive order. I think it needs to be more about attendance right now.
Yeah.
We have kids late to school, missing school, all of those things, so they're missing instruction. And so that's I think that's one of the big things, and I know Jen and her group have been kind of working on that. I think, I think
consistency across the grades is
Yeah.
another one. we need to see consistency.
Let's
Yeah.
keep, I
Yeah,
think,
keep going.
Marie, I think that that's a really good
Yeah,
idea for us to deep dive into all this.
Oh,
I think
no,
it's
we
a
don't need to
special-
deep dive. I'm gonna be leaving the board.
People are already
Well,
going
I
there.
No, I just wonder, like, as, you know.
Yeah.
If it comes up, like, I would just love to know. There's,
Yeah, I think
cause I think about it a lot and I spend a lot of time reading about it.
And Marie, there's just so many things that need to be done, and you're right, like, I think like setting like a priority, like what, what are we gonna get the biggest bang for our, time and spent on that? And like having a group and including parents, because parents are kind of the key to this.
Yeah.
Right? They gotta get their kids to school, they need to partner, they want to make sure, yeah.
Piggybacking off what you said is, what are we doing for the kids that are in the green and are in the
Yeah.
blue?
Mm-hmm.
Because that, I think, sometimes gets
They get
pushed
forgotten.
aside because,
Yeah.
oh, they've got it, they know it. And
We don't have that many kids in the green and the blue to worry about right now. We've got a lot of kids in the red
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the
Well, the
other
multi-age,
colors.
I think, is really great.
But there is, I
Seems
would
for
say that
the green and the blue, it seems
there
like
was
it's
a lot, there was a group that is.
The growth,
pretty-
seeing the growth.
yeah,
Yeah.
we've got a good group of kids on level. It's,
yeah.
as the curriculum gets harder, which it does, in our class, parents are shocked every year of like, I mean, I've taught kids that their parents are right here in this room. It's shocking when you see what the material is in fourth grade coming in, and so it's thinking about, how do we prep them for that years prior, so that when they get to us, we can meet them at their level and then go upward.
Yeah.
Okay, Tiffany and then Dan.
I know right now is not the deep dive time for this, cause we are constrained, but I just wanna bring it up that I feel like it's a big concern that teachers are so like at odds about what curriculum, and I think as much as I want every teacher to love the curriculum, I think we need to probably realize that they won't, and we just still need to make a switch to one continuous curriculum across the board, and the teachers, there might be a few, and that sucks for them, but they gotta learn to teach to that curriculum, and that, like I said, we can discuss that more later, but I just wanna put that out there, that I think that is important, that we move to a curriculum that's the same across.
You're preaching to the
Yeah.
choir.
So, I'm gonna keep this moving, keep the commentary
Well, I'll-
quieted.
I'm just seconding what Tiffany's saying. I'm used to at my job as being, this is what we're going to use.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And we'll do that. And so how do you balance the passion for what they wanna do? But it has to be the same. Like, I don't know what other schools
Yeah.
do, and it must not be this way.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, so I think it's also, we are in a smaller school. If you're in a bigger school like Hood River or even the Dalles or Corp, I can tell you that it is good to have buy-in by all of those. There's always gonna be that teacher that says, sure, and they stick their curriculum in the corner and just close their door and do whatever they want to do. It's harder to do that here, because it's small and doing that. There are constraints because like the math one, like that was bought with COVID dollars or something for the next 8 years.
So
8 years.
ELA was.
So
ELA was,
Yeah.
do we have to buy it every year and we're stuck in that contract for a year?
We are-
Or do we already bought it?
just at, I think we have one more year with Benchmark, or one more year with iReady and 2 with Benchmark. So we are now in the piloting process. Next year will be a piloting of coming up with something
Okay.
to look at.
Yeah, go ahead, Amelia.
I just wanna add, I agree with what Dan and Tiffany is saying, but also being a former teacher is making sure that there is professional development, cause some teachers might be like, okay, let's adapt it, but they're not sure how to use it.
Yeah.
Or they haven't, because they've been using the same concept, there might be some things that they're like, I don't understand, I don't wanna come out being signaled, I don't understand this.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that's something really important that needs
Yeah.
to be into that change as well,
Yeah.
and how we
I-
support that.
I too agree that we should have some consistency in our curriculum. I also could see where it makes sense to have differences because we're K through 8, right?
Yeah.
Not all
Yeah.
schools are that.
Yeah.
And I think that it's vitally important that we bring the teachers along.
Absolutely.
And they're the ones who know how to teach our students. And so it's just, I think we just need to continue this conversation. It's really helpful to see the numbers. The entire state is having a hard time with math. The entire nation is having a hard time with math and reading right now. Our state looks horrible compared to everyone else. And so I think that this needs to be a focus both of the board and of the school for the next, few years to get
Right, and I
our
think,
growth up even more.
the work with edX, just going to standards, like, I think that the hope is the bringing everybody along is like, here are the standards, this is what they look like, here's your goals for that.
Yeah.
Then looking at the data that they're seeing, they're like, wow, we need to do, so I think it's like having everybody kind of come on board at the why. Like, this is the why,
Yeah,
because here are the standards, here's what the performance is, how we're gonna, like, how we're gonna fix that.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's how you bring people along, because I think it is, you can't just come in and say, everybody's gonna do this one.
Yeah.
It's really hard. And I also think you need to include, a lot of parents' input to that, and,
Forming a committee.
Yeah.
As we move into adopting something new, because getting buy-in from the board or from parents, teachers, obviously kids. If we pilot curriculum, what are the kids receptive really to as well?
yeah, and so just kind of, because we currently have the benchmark. We've looked at the wit and wisdom to do, I think I did first grade and second grade, because I was thinking like, let's start like low and then start working it that way. It's about $10,000 just to start with those 2 grades, so it's not.
I feel like the board would okay,
As long as there's a
like,
long-term
let's
plan.
get our
let's
kids
do
what
it.
they need in order to succeed in this incredible.
We thought about that and adding a grade level each year.
It has
And
to
then
be
that way
accepted
it's a
and
gradual increase and it's not, okay, bam, everybody do it
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we could start that next year, we talked about possibly, and because we're still using benchmark and we have it for 2 more years.
Yeah, but let's get a plan. Let's be strategic about that so that we can see and we know where we're going and we can even budget for it. Yeah, one more thing and then let's
It's
look
just
at reading.
a statement, like, I'm not here to be, this is not what's fulfilling to me, it's to the students is why we're here, right? We're all here, like, whether it's your career, it's for the student, that's why we're here, so I don't really care what someone wants to use, we're here for the students, and whatever's best for them is what we should do, so. I mean, it doesn't really, I don't
my
know what your preference is,
kind
it
of-
doesn't matter, what's best for the student. is what
Yeah.
matters.
I think we're all on the same page and it takes the entire community to make.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Right.
gonna have to be a lot of parent advocacy too, I think, in this situation, because of course, you can ask teachers, and educators to do more, however, it needs to be funded. And it seems that there's kind of a triumvirate in terms of like what produces success in student attendance, which thank you, Jen, for monitoring that and the presentation you gave, because there was clearly an increase in attendance from last year, which I think is something to celebrate. There's also professional development. I think the curriculum ties into that. And then there still is, I think, instructional time, which Oregon is at a huge deficit. And if you just look at it as a systemic issue, you might, if you weren't from the United States or you were just like someone coming in to analyze and like look at what is what, when you see all the states having different amounts of instructional time and you see that, okay, well, these states with lower instructional time, the achievement rates are lower. So it is, it's going to require a lot of advocacy. I know Stanford Children just presented their, they partnered with a research group called Eco Northwest and presented to legislators in February of this year to show, how kids in Washington are receiving, depending where kids are, because there's 197 districts or 200 in Oregon. And there are 2 districts that have about 1,200 hours of instructional time, which is the national average. And then, the average in Oregon falls somewhere around like 1,100. And the kids are receiving here almost a year and a quarter less instructional time when they finish high school. So I feel like teacher, I'm sure it's hard for you to see, there's growth and I see it and I imagine, teaching to different levels levels is incredibly challenging. And yet I also feel like teachers are just tasked with something incredibly challenging when there's not enough time to teach. So anyhow, I don't know, I feel for everybody in Oregon who's an educator, because I feel like the stacks are stacked up against the kids and the educators.
But having the same curriculum, just being a veteran teacher, having the same curriculum that the kids used in years prior, and they come to me and they've seen it and they know it and their parents know it, and it's like clockwork for them versus the first 6 weeks of school. We spend like kindergartners do on the first 6 weeks. We explain what this is and where to go find this, and the pieces of the curriculum that by now should be way more fluent for them. And so I think a missing piece, there's many missing pieces, the attendance and such, but a missing piece for us is curriculum. And because we've gone standards-based, that's very much going to help us adopt a curriculum that I think everybody can get on board with. That's a good first step, then choosing a curriculum that works.
Good. Yeah, so we're making steps in the right direction. That's good to hear. What about reading?
Okay, so reading, this is our whole school growth and achievement. Out of reading, math, and science, we scored the highest in growth for reading, which is a positive, even though our scores are looking tough. So we can start with so what I noted, like the growth for grade 3 and I could show you grade 5 here in a second, is higher. So grade 2, 42nd percentile to 39th. That's something we can note. And then third grade 42nd to 48. And those are like the overall achievement scores. And then fourth and fifth. 50th to 45th, 35th to 38th. Growth is really high for 5th grade, not as much for 4th grade. Yeah, and this is definitely one of our talking points, just because I teach 4th and 5th. It's tough. Kids are coming to us year after year that aren't reading, and so we're a large portion of our class, we're teaching how to read instead of teaching the understanding of reading or the comprehension piece of reading. And it's not an excuse. It's like I take full blame, and I know Emery would as well, but that's a huge piece in our scores, is that like, how can we get kids reading before they get to us? And the whole school knows that. The whole school is working really hard to attack that before those kids come to us.
Yeah, and I don't think you should take the blame. I think this is a societal thing right here. We don't read as much in our world today. We stare at screens.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that's reflected in here as well.
Behavior too, and not reading.
It does, and I loved hearing the parent comment about screens, because I'm like, yes, the less on those things, better.
Yeah, we'll all agree. Kids should be fluently reading well before 4th grade. I mean.
Yes,
you know,
and that's.
You shouldn't be teaching them how to read still in
And
4th grade.
And I
Ideally,
like,
in an ideal grade.
yeah, and I think that Janet, with the intervention right now, they really feel pretty good about the K1s and moving them, moving the ones to 2nd grade, that they definitely have addressed a lot more of those foundational skills. I think there's a careful balance between foundational skills and building that love of reading. And I think that's the one thing that we need to work on.
Does our SMART program work with all of the grades?
No, right now they're just working for preschool and then the K1s.
Okay.
And I'm gonna tell you, like, that's gonna be a huge boost, because I'm kinda, thank you so much for bringing that program back. So it's if you come here on a Thursday, it is, I know, and then they get real mad when they don't take their book home with them. We might have had a few meltdowns.
But I will say the smart reading program, we could expand it all the way up to 4th grade. And so that is something that is possible if we had more volunteers. And so
Yeah.
something.
It's been really well received. yeah.
McKenna, maybe before you leave, you could give us like just a quick assessment on like how many more volunteers we would need in order to expand to into 4th grade.
Have you found anyone interested in taking it over, because you won't be here next year?
We have a co-coordinator, but she lives in Portland and she just has a vacation home and comes as often as she can. So she needs a partner.
Good to know. Okay. And then look at the middle school for reading.
Middle school for reading, 6th grade is looking the best. 7th grade
Actually,
too.
8th graders.
Well, growth, sorry, I'm
Yeah.
looking at growth.
Yeah, 8th grade growth, 27 to 37.
Yeah, I was looking at the percentile,
Yeah.
66, they're in the green for growth. To me, that's what I measure success on, is are you in the green? The ones that you wanna jot down is when they're falling below, so 35th to 28th for 7th grade.
Yeah.
But that's a tough
That is a
grade
tough
level
group.
number in this group, yeah. And then I have science. I personally, Michelle and I presented to North Wasco a couple years ago about our science scores, and it was not good. We were in like the 33rd percentile, and now according to this, we're in the 54th, I want to say.
Cool.
So
That curriculum goes.
That's good.
We have curriculum.
yes, so we do have curriculum that was very big on teacher buy-in.
Yeah.
So as a school, our growth is 54th, but we
Is that our
went
highest?
45th to 45th, or our mid-year is 45th. But end of year, we now have a lot of things that the school is doing in regards to reading, science. This does not count in 2-3. I think it's important that we do get 2-3 in this, because science has been a problem. So to get them to start testing kids 3 times a year in science, just so we can see, are they making progress before they get to middle school? This is, you notice number of students is 88. So this is just kids 4th through 8th. And then the science test is only 5th and 8th grade, if I'm correct. So that was where we scored really low. So hopefully that score is much higher this year. But we can look, they might all pop
As
up.
we improve reading as well, our science is naturally gonna go up.
That's exactly what we talked about in our meeting the other day. Our science teacher said that she was looking at these scores, so we could start with 4 or 5.
So science is the strongest. Oh,
No.
no, ELA.
ELA was in growth. We made 57% growth in ELA. We made 54% growth in science and 51% growth in math.
That's great. Definitely making those.
That is great. Yeah.
Heading in the right direction.
And then here's 6, 7, and 8 for science. Sorry, it doesn't move in real time.
And you'll do one more round of testing.
Yes, and to note that this test is in January, just how our schedule falls. Most schools do their mid-year test before Christmas, but that's because they go to school at the beginning of August. We don't do that. We start later, so our mid-year tests
Right
fall
after
after
break.
Christmas.
Yeah.
So not a great time to test after Christmas break, and it's dark outside, and so usually by the end of the year, you really see a good representation and growth for where the kids are at.
Would you come back and share with us the results after the next
I
round
would
of
love
testing?
to. Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be really great.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Okay, anything else on NWEA and math testing? Okay, awesome. Let's keep going then. Update on classified staff contract negotiations.
So we had a meeting
Thank you, Sarah Grace.
last Wednesday. We'll have another meeting next Wednesday. The first meeting was just about they had concerns about the 4-day schedule. And so we met with Matt, I can't think of his last name, he's with the OEA. He sent some pretty interesting emails to begin with, and so we were like, but it was a really nice meeting. Julia was on that, Emily was on that, and it felt much better. We have an MOU that is almost ready, not quite, and then we'll have an MOU with them. And then and it's just about the 4-day week. They just want to make sure that time, like whatever hours they have now, they have the opportunity to have those same hours next year. And that was always said to them. And then also, we just talked about for some people having a flexible schedule. So if somebody doesn't want to do the 9-hour days, they're just not up for that. I actually think there is room to have somebody at a 5-day week, 8 hours. And that would be, I just had an MTA meet check, and we were just talking about additional training for our EAs. And so I see lots of opportunity for that. So, and we're just gonna, and once we're just so at an unknown with the 4-day week, as far as it's really those 17 Fridays that is a little bit of an unknown for us. And so once we kind of get going on that, we have a survey that we're going to share with you. And once we kind of get that going, we'll know a little bit more. So anyway, I think it's going to go fabulous. We're going to look at the North Bosco contract and kind of utilize that as kind of a base for us. There's a lot of it that we don't have transportation people on here, but we're just going to kind of keep that. And then understanding that the contract that we currently have with them has to be kind of the same one that we, like our holidays have to be the same and all of that, because it is in line with our MTA contract. We're trying to keep it in line with the MTA contract too. And we already have salary tables for them. Shannon's been working. We have job descriptions that just seemed like they were kind of all over the place. And we've been trying to pull them into one place and make them uniform. And so we're doing that. So that will be nice. That's great.
As far as board members supporting that effort moving forward,
Yeah, I know. I'm
Sorry, I know.
I know. I know. So we have Camila from Hungerford. She is going to be at all the meetings for us, and I think she's actually coming out for coming out here. So she's been super helpful. And she actually looked over the MOU, made a few suggestions, and then we're kind of go back with that. So
okay.
I don't know. Are you willing to do it? We just keep with our. I don't think it has to be big. I think it can be fairly quick and small.
Yeah, and I think, Julie, I don't want to put words in your mouth,
thank
so I'm gonna pause and see if you had a response to that question.
What do you think, Julia?
Well, I think the meeting went really well. I think one of the beauties of our school is that, we have 9 classified staff, and we can really meet each of them where they are and understand the needs of each individual in a way that's really unusual for an employer. So that I thought went really well. And as far as like contract negotiations going forward, I'm happy to be part of that group or to give a spot to someone that wants experience and practice and, either way, I'm totally happy to. I don't foresee many issues. It seemed like the meeting went pretty smoothly, and I don't think it's going to be very contentious. Knock on wood.
Yeah. I think that right now we might be at that point where we don't have enough bandwidth for or we don't have folks who want to step in unless you want to.
I would make a motion that Julie and Emily continue with Michelle on this work.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay.
Is my
Motion
pen in
passes.
there?
Yeah, my pen is there. Okay. That sounds good. So we'll keep going. The next meeting is April 29th and then followed by May 13th. And hopefully.
Yeah, and I think, when we onboard, I'm sad to lose the board members that we're losing. I'll just say out loud, you guys have been terrific. And when we onboard new folks, if people want that opportunity to work so intimately with Michelle and with staff, it's really a nice opportunity for relationship building and just kind of getting to understand the inner workings of the school. So I'm happy to give up my seat at that point in time.
Hopefully we'll be done with it at that point in time.
Yes, yeah.
But yes, right, same with me, Julie. Okay, great. Let's see, business manager and treasurer's report.
Okay, Shan's up here, she's, under the weather, so, so just kind of going through the notes that Veronica makes for us is that, the 2020, the new client paperwork request for the audit is, already in and done. And we are so thankful for the new auditors. We have like things scheduled with them. We've uploaded a lot of the stuff, like they really feel, I mean, Veronica's like, I think we're gonna be done in like September. And I'm like, if we're done in December, I'm gonna be so happy. So, I feel like this year was last year. So it's very, very, encouraging. I do have a budget that I'm gonna show you, to present. Veronica and I have been working on that, and Shannon. We've also brought in Dawn, looking at facilities. We've been looking at like historically where we're spending money and how we're spending money. And I think it's pretty ready for approval. We've received all of our IG grant funds. That's the SIA grant, the early literacy grant. And then there's some weird little grant that's like, it's EIIS, and it's just for early intervention stuff. It's like $700, but we've got it.
From the bank.
Yes, yeah. The 24-25 audit, is the 990 is complete, and all the payments have been submitted to Polly Rogers, and so we're done with that. And then we talked about the DOE installation and when the products are completed. We are working with the, on the interim request, and we have a meeting with the auditors, the new auditors, on, May 8th. There will be an online. Veronica wanted you to know that, in the financial packet, you can see a list of funds that's been spent so far on the on our DOE projects. Just about the asbestos and the furnace removal, and how we're gonna cover the funds. What we had to do is take the budget that we had for the DOE and move some money around to cover that. A big one was the $55,000 that they had for the apprenticeship program, because they don't like anything that has those three letters, DEI, and so that kind of got out of there. And then we also didn't, we're not doing the EV chargers. And so that was some more money. And then huge was the installation, because the installation got paid for, it kind of moved some money over for it. So, so it should be pretty much fully funded, which we thought, we were hoping for about 75,000, but I think it's gonna be fully funded. Anyway, and it's already scheduled to go. Payroll was reviewed in March by both myself and Veronica before Shannon submitted. That's our, Shannon, when she's ready for payroll, she sends it to both of us. We review it. Veronica always looks for some things and I look for different things. So it's kind of a good partnership there. And make sure that, and we haven't really had anybody in the last couple of payrolls say, hey, you messed up my paycheck. So it's been pretty smooth. And I have to say, Shannon usually has it in a little bit early. So we're supposed to pay on the 28th. It usually hits their banks a little sooner to that, which is always nice for people. So it's like, oh, shouldn't do that.
Especially these days.
Well, it's also really, really helped. And I don't know that we can say this enough, that we now get our state school fund payment from the DALs. It's a ACH. So it goes into our account instead of, hey, they cut us a check, it comes in the mail. Daphne, I have to, sign it. Daphne has to take it to the bank. It just directly goes in there and goes in a little bit earlier than it has been sent to us. So, we still are working on the 403B. We have, mainly one particular, like, there was money that was supposed to be put into a horseman prior to Veronica and I being here that didn't get put in. That is all in the accounts, but now we have to go back and, look at what earnings they would have had on that. We're trying to find, what's that person called? That ERISA person. So it's a person that actually can do that for you. Shannon has reached out to what is that? It's the business managers group to see if they have it. So far, we haven't had any luck on that. We're also working with Forest Band. They haven't been very helpful yet, so we're working on that. My husband was actually in financial, so I'm gonna like say, if I put in this money, what would I earn? And so we're gonna try to get some sort of ballpark, so on that. There's also, because we also have to, there's some tax implications on that, so that has to get all, so we're still working on that. So overall budget highlights, for the 26 budget, for the 26, but 25-26 budget is, we're progressing through the fiscal year with approximately 75% of the school year gone. Our total revenues reflect 60% of 60.3% of the annual budget, while total expenses are at 69.5, so a little bit over. Revenue is tracking below the expected pace at this point of the year, and most of that has to do with, we have about $1 million less in our IG account, and the interest rate has gone way down. I think that every week, at least maybe every other week, we get something from the state that says, oh, and by the way, we're lowering the rate. By the way, we're lowering the rate. They keep lowering the rate. So that is probably what's happening now. While this variance may be attributed to timing differences, the gap between the revenue and expenses will continue to be monitored closely. So earnings investment, just what I said, is currently at approximately 28.1% of the annual budget, which is below projections. Market performance, timing, and all of that have to do. I think like moving forward in the next budget, we're kind of lowering what that earnings would be. So we're not going to budget for the earnings that we've had in previous years. The state school funding is tracking close to its expected levels at approximately 83% of the budget, aligning well with the fiscal year progression. Federal funding is currently at 45.9% of the budget, which is below the expected pace, but that's mostly due to differences in reimbursement and grant drawdowns. That once the DOE grant makes a lot of this really tricky, because we have like a lot of money going out, and then it takes a while to get the money back in. So anytime we spend money, it comes out of the LGIP account, and then when we get money back, we put it back in. So and so right now we just invoiced for more. So the good news is that will come back in. Local revenue sources are performing strongly and significantly exceeding the projections, currently over 230% of budget. It's kind of helping to offset some of our lower than expected revenue in categories. Student fees are currently at 65.8% of the budget, which is slightly below pace. And so the student fees have to code for the preschool. So that's still a little bit, we're still not performing quite where we need to be. So expenses over budget. Contract services, which are instruction, property, communication, professional services, are currently at 125% of budget, reflecting higher service utilization. So that's our electric bill. Like those are our utilities. Good news is we just got a new electric bill, and we're now down to $3,200. So we were like at $5,800. Now we've really dropped down. My understanding is, well, we're not having to heat as much. The other two thing is that it was on emergency heat, so hopefully that's brought it down. We did have people from Devco here today. He's been here for the last 2 days. He'll be here tomorrow. He is just continually finding like Fern and Billy's room where the wires were crossed. So there's just all sorts of weird things that he's spending a lot of time trying to figure out. There's a lot of things. Our biggest problem right now is the kitchen is like not cooling, like it's not cooling at all. And so we have to open windows. And so they're trying to figure out, they think that it might not have enough coolant in the units. And so that's the next thing they're going to check. So working really hard with that. Matt has been really coordinating a lot of this, so that's been really helpful. So supplies and materials have exceeded the annual full budget, indicating an increase in purchasing. what will happen is, what we've said is that everybody spends a lot in the beginning of the year, we have a little bit of lull, and then they'll spend a little bit, but we have sent out. Unless you have grant money or you have money left over, you're done spending for the year, unless it's an emergency, and so. We've kind of, I just kind of monitor the credit card and I can see it's, you know, there was a while that was pretty high, it's definitely dropped pretty down, so. Capital outlay remains under budget at approximately 47.5 of the several, because several planned expenditures are expected to occur later in the year. And those are, capital outlay would be, you know, if we're gonna paint the school, like those types of things.
Boring.
Yeah, boring, yeah. Transfers are also well under budget, of 6%, which is consistent with the timing of the plan transfers, expected later in the year. Other expense categories, including salaries and payroll costs, are generally tracking in line with expectations, so we're good on, and as you know, salaries is the majority of our budget, so the majority of our budget is in budget. Good. Interest in the next school's registration remains strong. Conservative ADM projections are at 190. So we had it at 190. We now are going to bump up to 195 because more than likely we're going to be a little bit over 200. And so we're still trying to stay conservative, but we also want to, again, get the money in for the students that we have. We are working with Dan Peterson, who's the CFO of the Dalles, on the reconciliation. His first reconciliation was way off. And so we're like, that's not even close to what we think it is. And then it was because he had our numbers still at 160 instead of the, you know, the 180, 185.
Oh.
And so, and he also had another number that was off. We've kind of decided, because he's really new to this, we contacted Vanessa Clark, who's with ODE. We have a meeting with her tomorrow, and she's gonna look at his, like, what he's doing and ways, and to make sure that that is what is supposed to happen, because we're thinking he has the wrong numbers in, and so we just want to confirm that. And so once we have our meeting with her and she looks this over, we'll either tell him this is what we think it is, and if he doesn't agree with that, then we'll bring in Vanessa Clark to that conversation. So anyway, that's about it for the, and then you have everything in the financials that you need to, hopefully the theme reports are in there for everybody, so. I do want to go to the budget.
Okay, I was gonna say, do we need to take an action on the budget today, or is this just a?
Yes, it would be like, if, I mean, I guess we could look at it and then action and then do it next, but I mean, this will be way earlier than we've ever done.
Oh,
budget.
cool. Early is good.
I don't know if I'm ready to vote.
I don't know if I
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Okay,
starting
okay,
to.
put it out
I
there.
have a question.
Yeah, okay, go ahead, let's look at it.
I gotta find. That is not, that's budget detail. Hold on, I have to go into, where did I put that?
It is in the folder.
Oh, it's in your folder.
Well,
It looks,
yes.
I love what Veronica did with the little, I don't know what you call them, but they're highlighted in yellow with the sticky
comments,
notes.
yeah.
That
Oh,
was super.
Yeah,
helpful.
let's see, I have to go find, hold on, I have to find yours.
should I share?
Can you share it?
screen?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Let's see. Yeah, I think I've got the right one. This is in the budget box. So that I want to put here.
Draft.
Should it say draft or should it just?
It should say
budget details?
MCS board draft, just so you know, you have one and we have a different one, just cause I didn't want anybody messing it up.
Wait a second. So
Well, yeah,
Michelle, do you want to come look at this really quick?
Well, you want me to share mine?
You can share your screen if you have the right one. I just want to make sure I've got the right one, because there's one with multiple tabs along the bottom. And then there's one that's just like,
No, it should look like this one.
okay, that is the one. with The
MCS.
tabs along the bottom?
Yeah. It should have tabs along the bottom. We wanted you to see the tabs along the bottom so you could see where we got the
We
numbers.
shouldn't.
But we don't want to show those tabs
Only
along the bottom.
we don't want to
publicly.
show the.
You don't wanna show the staffing, but you could do
But we
the
can do-
projects.
yeah.
I would say you could show everything but the staffing.
Okay,
Okay.
but you know what? I don't have the right one. I was looking at the current budget.
Oh,
Okay,
if you-
here.
I'm thinking.
It's in the stuff you sent us.
Yeah, it's in the.
Here,
That's why.
I got it.
Okay, Michelle's got it. I looked at it a lot before we got
I
here.
don't know what this is saying, so, okay. let's see if I can make it a little bit bigger. How's that? Better? Okay, so in here, a lot of it stays a lot, you know, it's very similar to last year's budget, because we're a simple folk here. We don't have a lot of going on. So the student fees is the preschool. And then the earnings and investment, we adjusted that down a bit. Extracurricular activities are clubs. A lot of our club money comes from SIA, like we use a lot of that, our grant money for clubs. And then that's our revenue. So they have our revenue at 2.8. We think it's gonna be falling around 2.9. And so that is, we looked at the last 3 years, we have been flat for revenue. And so this will help us out a little bit. Anyway, so our income is there. If you can see the special staying in income, that 208,000 is the SIA. My understanding, we just submitted for a reconciliation on that because we should get a few more $1,000 because our numbers were higher. So we'll get some more money. I just applied for it and they'll tell us in June. I think what happens is they do the grant for everybody and then they look at people's numbers and they take some money away and they give some money to people. And so they'll figure that all out and let us know that in June. The early literacy grant, same thing goes for that. We might get a little bit more money for that as well. The special, so that 17.2 for grants, those are all those teacher grants that they've been out there, like Ashley Sorstad's been getting grants. So those are all those little grants that those teachers have gotten themselves. The federal sources, that 446,000, that is the DOE grant. And then the 110 for the special revenue. I don't know what that one is.
Or ESD?
No.
Local, it says.
It says local, other revenue local. I'll have to ask her what that one is. I don't remember. And then, our food services, as you can see, we're now, like, before, everything funneled through North Wasco. Now it's funneling through here. So I am constantly opening checks for food. Now, the thing about the food services is right now, it's just paying for the food. Doesn't pay for our staff in there. So, we're kind of work on that part of it. And then if you look at expenses, the salaries, it was really nice to already know that we have a 3% raise. And so we just bumped everybody up 3%. And they also looked at the steps because everybody has a step. And so she already calculated all that out. The payroll costs, we're hoping are going to stay right about there. The problem with payroll costs is we just got something from OEBB that MODA would like to have a 12.7 increase percentage for healthcare. They are only able to have a 3.7. I think they have something worked out with the state. So that means that they'll probably be changing the deductible again, which they just did. So that's why they have that crazy garter thing that everybody's learning. So I think what she did is she just put 4%, just airing a little bit high. Our PERS rate, while I think that is hard for everybody else, we're kind of a little bit sheltered because of PERS, because I am literally the only tier 1.
Yeah,
one that costs you the most. And then everybody else is tier 2 or OSPRA. What is that? Yeah. And then purchase services, that includes the 52,000 for the transportation costs, which we just got this and I'm still trying to understand a little bit, because it's a little higher than I thought. So it's going to be on the North Wasco board meeting. I tried to get a hold of Lisa Caseberg this week. She's been out sick. So I'm supposed to call her back today. That didn't work out for me. So we'll try it. Supplies and materials. What we did is we took how many teachers we have. They all have $500. And that was the supplies and materials. And then we also, there's a tab that talks about supplies and materials. We also talk to Dawn and what are things that we what are we spending? Cause we have lots of, paper is a big one. We go through a lot of copy paper. I would also say like, we want to make sure that the teachers have all the materials that they need to teach. And it's a pretty, in the scheme of things, it's a pretty small thing, you know, that they have. Capital outlay. I'm not sure what that is, ask her.
That's
And then,
the,
is it
that's the federal money.
the federal, okay, and then, other expenses, I think those are things that, are like our, insurance and things like that, so. And insurance is like 25,000 a year, so. And then transfers, is, money that we had to, like, so a lot of those transfers are from projects that we've had, facility projects that we've had, that transferred out of the building fund. And back in. So the good news is, if you go way over to the right on line 23, column K, our carryover should be 105,000, that's our 105,000 for next year. Which, if you remember, this year was really tiny low, it's like 10,000, I think, so. Anyway, the red is the, you know, for food services cost us, you know, money, so,
Yeah, and I think last year, yeah,
yeah.
we ended with 12,000 and
Yeah.
food was still right around.
Yeah, we have a little bit more of a cushion, and this is still being,
It was-
a bit conservative with our ADM numbers, so. I'm just gonna go on the TAP facility, so these are some of the projects that we would like to have, for next year. I'm not sure about the replace the gyms. I think what's happening is they need a little attention, because there's that, kind of silvery tape that's on them, that, there's just some stuff that needs to happen, but, paint the gym, refinish the floors. I guessed on that. My guess is that's gonna probably be higher than that. Those floors have not been, touched in quite a while. So, in order to paint it, they actually have to wire brush the walls because of whatever materials. And then, that having an ADA door is gonna be about $20,000. We are going to absolutely have to replace the stage door at some point. It doesn't show up properly, it leaks, like it's really bad, and that's a $10,000 door, and I didn't even put that on here.
I just noticed.
Yeah.
The time.
Yeah,
And, we still actually have to go into executive session as well.
okay.
So.
So I guess everybody kind of looked through this, and I know that there's things, we've tried to include as much as things as possible on here. We have one more big year of flooring, and then I think we're done with flooring for a while, but it was just like catching everybody's split floor up. We still need to fence the HVAC system at some point. We're just waiting to finish that baby off and get that done.
Fencing soon.
Huh?
We might have
We
some
might
fencing.
have next, yeah. And then the other, I think the highest priority item for me is the kitchen upgrade. The counters are falling apart, so, anyway. And then, the pre-K cover entrance, that's not gonna happen, so. We need something to cover it, and we've talked about that. We need something to cover that, and also the music room, just because it gets a lot of stuff going in there.
I had an idea that maybe we reach out to Alan Root and see if he wants to create something beautiful.
Oh, that'd be really good.
Metal sculpture,
Yeah.
all colorful and pretty for preschool.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so then let's look at this and then we'll prove it next time.
Yeah, that'd be great. And if you have any
I like
questions,
that.
just reach out to Veronica or myself, because she can answer more of the questions than I can, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was wondering, is Veronica coming back next year?
I hope so, yeah. We have to.
Because I didn't see her on here.
Veronica is a contract, so she actually is,
Okay.
she's in what, she's not in our salaries, she's in our contract, because she's a contract
Contract
services.
services.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Thank you for all that work.
Share here.
And then you can, yeah, you can stop sharing. So, Amelia, did you have anything else you wanted to add? Don't you want?
No, I was just loading to, answer what the other, 110, but my phone's being really slow.
Oh,
I was just logging in to tell you guys what precisely that money
the
was.
local money. Yeah, I looked back at my files and I wrote it down.
No, I was logging into actual QuickBooks.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well,
Thank
next
you.
time we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, item 10, update from the contract and succession planning committee. we have, and I included in, the board folder, a final contract for Michelle. That I think we'd like to get a thumbs up on today, if we can, so we can get it signed. I will just point out the changes that, you'll notice were made. We added some language, around the ability for Michelle to go part-time for the 2027-28 school year, if she decides to. We will know that by January 2027. We'll make sure that we have a clear plan for the next year. Also a salary increase because she went up a step, up to step 7, well, and COLA. And then increased the number of holidays, and then also a personal day to match the holidays, to match the full year, of employment. And then
Only
a
one,
personal day.
Well, I have
In
3, so now it's gonna be
addition to-
4.
so
Yeah,
only
I know.
4? Wow.
We were trying to be.
Less work days, right? Less contract days.
There's less contract days, but they're longer days, so.
Yeah, yeah. So that's, and Michelle approved of these changes.
For another person.
Yeah.
Bree thinks I need another person.
So, yeah, any questions on that contract or anything that Julie or Dan would like to add for Michelle?
No, I think we just kept it with the 2-year contract with that, with that option for the part-time.
Yeah. Yep. I would entertain a motion to approve it if somebody wants to offer one.
Make a motion that we approve the contract as presented.
Second from Amelia, all those in favor?
Everybody.
Okay, motion
everybody's
passes.
here.
Thank you. Next. Oh, and then, I'm sorry, this is also on there, I didn't see, not quite done. Update on the process to hire the, principal position.
So we
Next
have
steps and timeline.
19, as I'm trying to go through all of the.
19 applicants?
We have 19 applicants.
Oh.
Right now, and then we are gathering, I had a lot of interest from board members to be on the principal, so I think we just need to figure out who's going to be on it. I have two teachers so far, and then I think I wanna encourage at least one of our support staff to be on there. And I, haven't got that yet, so, and then the hope is by this Friday is, I'm probably gonna do the first, like, I'll share that, everybody can look at the, everybody that's on the committee can look at, I have everything in a document or in a folder. Everybody has their own folder with all their resume, cover level, all that, and try to do a spreadsheet that just talks about, where are they at? Do they have administration experience? And just some key things that we were looking for. And then whittle that down to have a first round of interviews that might be, I think you have to kind of keep that around maybe 7. That's a lot of people. So keep that around and then have a second round. So the hope is to maybe have a first round of interviews late next week. It could be the week after. We'll just have to kind of see. It closed. I had a flurry on the day that it closed. So
Oh, wow. Yeah, okay. And so we have 2 hiring committees coming up. We have 2-3 teacher, and then we have principal. Tiffany and I will not be able to be on the 2-3.
correct.
And so,
I volunteered to be on there.
Yeah.
okay,
So I just want to make sure I have, let's see, hold on here.
we just want to make sure we have good board coverage on both of them.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. What did I name that?
I had volunteered as well for that one if you want.
For 2-3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just making sure I have the hiring committee. What did I name that document? So right now, for 2-3s, I had McKenna and Marie on that. And then I have 2 teachers that are on that as well. And I think 4 is good. I think going to, it's a lot, on there. And then for the K principal, so I had Tiffany, if they're. She's,
I would like,
yeah,
but.
Tiffany,
Yeah.
Julia, Emily, anybody, I don't know, we can't have,
Did everybody say?
no, I don't, you know.
We can have 3, we just can't have 4.
So we have Tiffany, Emily and Julia.
I'm happy to
am-
step off it. If Emily's on there, I think, that's great. No, I mean, in all seriousness, I think it's important that that position be somebody that can work with the board really well because there's Michelle has been honest about that she's not, she's nearing retirement. So I do think it's really critical that that person is someone that the board feels like they can work well with. But as long as we have representation from the board, I don't need to be on that committee. I'm out doing a bunch of the contract negotiations and other things, and so I feel well represented.
Uh-huh. Did Nathan volunteer to be on that too?
He didn't volunteer, but might have been asked.
Okay.
So why don't we take you off?
Yeah, why don't we leave Julia on and take me off?
Yeah, only because, it would be nice to have a specialist on there. And, I haven't had anybody step up, but he said he would do it.
Yeah.
If his arm was twisted.
And Nate and I
Wait,
are
are you
really-
proposing to put me on the ED, on the principal hiring?
Yes.
Yeah, because I think Nathan's gonna be on that committee as well.
They're both trying to get on.
Yeah.
So
I'll just be honest that I'm transitioning jobs in my own personal life, so I'm a little bit daunted. I don't know exactly what the timeline is, but we should talk about when those interviews will happen. If they're gonna happen before May 18th, then I'm available, but I start my new employment May 18th and then my life gets really busy for a little while, so my capacity.
Does it make sense then to leave both Julia and I on for now?
Yeah.
And then
I can
as
try,
we
yeah.
kind of flush things out a bit more.
Yeah.
And Tiffany. Yeah. Okay, so the three of us.
3's fine anyway.
I also think, yeah. Well, we can talk about it.
And it can also, if it's, something happens, there's Tiffany, right?
Right, and the thing is like, the 3 of you, I will share the folder that I have. If you guys can kind of start looking through it, I'm trying to make a spreadsheet so that you can add notes to that. There are some people that, cause I've been reading them as they come in, I'm like, oh my gosh, so excited. And then there's some people who are like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can
And
tell.
so
yeah.
then also we'll have a middle school teacher on that principal.
Yes, we already have a middle school. We also have we have a 4-5 teacher on it. And I'm trying to get somebody from the K3 realm, so at least a primary. So if we have a primary I don't want to get too big though.
Right.
Yes, like this, you want lots of voices, but not too big. The good
Yeah,
news is
right.
like either one of these teachers would be good at going back to the teachers and letting them know what they are thinking. So.
Okay, awesome. Great, let's keep moving. Thanks everyone for hanging in for a long meeting. What about a schedule, 2026-27 schedule committee update? We've got transportation numbers.
We had a meeting on Monday, that was attended. We had 2 parents there. Sherry Durst and Margaret, it used to be Malone. Yeah, I think it's different than what it used to. They attended, and then we had, Brittany Fisher and, Ashley came to it, as well as Sarah Grace taking the notes. And so we just kind of went over, we already have the schedule down pat. I did update the schedule, and it wasn't anything crucial. It was colors, because I realized that I wasn't consistent with the red. And I thought that was like, when you see red, you're not coming to school that day. So I tried to go through it and make sure that all of the red, I didn't have winter break done that way. And so I made sure. So, if we want to reapprove it, great. If you're okay that I just change the colors, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
And then, so we looked at that. Our big thing was transportation. We do have, and Julia, I'm gonna send you some of these numbers that I actually, if you go onto the North Wasco, school board meeting site, you can get these numbers that they didn't share with us. Well, anyway, we don't have, it's just the Bossier bus calculation, and so I'm gonna talk to Dan a little bit about this tomorrow. And then Dan Peterson, that is. We talked a lot about Friday programming. We are pretty dialed in with that, like, and I think what's gonna happen is it's gonna be mostly art and some outside here, and then Let's Get Out, I think only really wants to do that beginning of the year, so they weren't really into committing to the whole thing that way. We are looking at equal a little bit. We also talked about the people that do secret. I'm sure there's lots of local people here that could do things. There was a lot of because Anne Marie was here too, like, I really want us to go, skiing and all that. And we're kind of thinking this first year, we're gonna take it slow and easy on it. We do have the survey. I think I put the link to you.
I don't think we saw it.
You don't, okay.
No.
So let me see if I can bring that up real quick and share my screen. We dialed the survey way back. It was really wordy and decided that it needed to be a little bit more concise. Now I'm gonna have to try and share my screen again. Gosh, you think I used to do this?
One of the things
Yeah.
that Michelle and I talked about was, there was a survey question on payment for Fridays. But what Michelle and I were discussing was, instead of like asking folks if they would be able to pay for a Friday, let's pull that out completely and instead just do fundraising for Fridays. So we can like solicit, donations from families instead of like making it seem like you have to pay in order to
And
participate.
the committee loved that. They loved it. And we have SIA money that, now that I'm doing all this stuff on the technology stuff, I'm like, hey, we're not spending any more money on Chromebooks. So, yeah, it's like making me a little bit anti-Chromebook, but we have money that we can shift over to that. So, I think that will be fine. So the, here it is, it just kind of talks about it. There was it had a lot of like philosophical stuff. I got rid of all that stuff. So we just here it is, here's the link to the calendar. Here's when you're gonna start, here's when you can drop off kids, but here's when we start time and here's where we get out. So that they know, I think those are the things that parents want to know. And then I tried my best to do in Spanish, so we'll see how I did. Email, parent's name, and then we had, I think I originally had how many, I have 1 kid, 2 kids, 3 kids. This is a checkbox, so you check all the kids that you have. I have a kindergartner, 2nd grader, 3rd grader, and we'll get to know that. And that just helps us understand who's going to be attending. Now, what it doesn't help us do, if you have a kindergartner and a middle schooler, I don't know who's actually coming. My guess is it's gonna be the kindergartner that comes in, not the middle schooler. So it just is giving us kind of a base. And then what mode of transportation are you gonna come when you come to school? Bus, car, drop off, or walk, and same with dismissal, because that is gonna help us out a little bit with the busing. Do we need 2 buses? Do we need 1 bus? And all that. And we also understand this is just an estimate. We have no idea what's gonna happen. Now, this one we're still, so this is the Friday optionals. We've made them into 2 sessions. So we have 5 sessions, and that it says, please sign up for any session that you may attend, that you're interested in. You're not committing to anything. We just want to see
a first group of 5, first 5 Fridays of the year.
Yeah, because what's gonna happen is, so I'm not gonna come to any Fridays, we're gonna go do our own thing, or I have no idea what I'm gonna do at this time, and then we have the sessions. What will happen, and this is gonna be some communication with parents, is in June, you're gonna have to, if you're gonna come to session 1, you gotta let us know in June, so that we can plan for that session. And then what will happen with each session, the December session, we'll sign up for that in October. So that you're always having to sign up for it, at least 3 or 4 weeks early, so we can plan the staffing and all of that. And so that will kind of rolling on that.
Okay, I'm just gonna give it some time, check it.
Yeah, and then just any questions. And we had a big, long thing, we just left it as questions. What do you have? What questions? I'll be looking at the survey. You'll have, we can have access to it, and we can just take on those questions as they come. So, yes.
Quick question. When you say 3 to 4 or 2 to 3 weeks to sign up for those Fridays, I'm just afraid that we're limiting the needs of the families if, because things come up and families like, I need that Friday, and are they gonna be excluded from that then?
Well, the problem is that we have to be able to staff it, and I can't staff it, like, you know, if we have one or two kids do that, I think we'll be able to accommodate that, but we need to have some ballpark figure on who's going to be attending, because, we have to have staffing for that. Yeah, so
So like a-
what
get a
I'm saying,
sense.
so Amelia, yes, but I think we do have to have a commitment, and we also say, you don't have to come to all of those sessions, but yeah, I am gonna cut, like, if you need to plan, like, I'm gonna be coming to some of those sessions or that, we do have to have some sort of commitment, because, to have, you know, 6 staff members here and 3 people that come, that's, you know, we have to kind of adjust for that too, so, or if we're gonna have 60 kids come, then I need to make sure that we bring in more staff.
I understand, but at the same time, it's so new. And even though a lot of communication goes out, as people start seeing what the new rhythm of these Fridays are, I'm just afraid that at the end, they're gonna be like, oh, Fridays were available, but I can't get in because we're being excluded. And I think our initial vote was to avoid that exclusion.
Well,
At
we
least-
can also like adapt as we go, as needed. If we're seeing that type of thing happen, then we can send reminders out or like check-ins even. Like, okay, we've got 2 sessions coming up, 2 Friday sessions next month. Anybody
We can make
not
phone
sign
calls
up
too,
for it, we
like
can make
whoever
phone
signed
calls.
up, double checks and then
Yeah.
message, just to.
And there will be
Okay.
some folks who sign up and we plan for who don't show, so then we have more wiggle room for folks who did not sign up but need to.
I think that I think most people would, you know, say, like, I think a lot of people, like, I am gonna use this Friday. If there's one or two people that, you know, families that do that, we certainly can accommodate that. I just think that we have to have some sort of process for it, just where it's like liability and planning and all of those things.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's gonna be excluded, but I do think that, I guess I would encourage, like, sign up, even if you don't think you're gonna, like, if you think you might come, sign up.
I think we should really over communicate the
Yeah.
necessity to sign up ahead of time
Yeah.
and like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also want to really communicate what Friday programming looks like, because we want to
Yes.
get kids.
Yeah.
Julia, you have your hand up.
Yeah, and I apologize. The sort of bunching things in sessions is new to me. And I'm just curious. My fear is, you know, I want to get the most kind of accurate read on the numbers, and at least for the way that I would think about using Fridays, they're not necessarily gonna be clustered. Like it would be like, you know, I probably could have my kids home one Friday in April, but I'm not going to do all of the Fridays in April, for example, or all of the Fridays. There's 3 Fridays in May. How do you, and since they don't cost anything, I mean, you could click all of these boxes just to hold your spot, but then not show. I mean, I think for planning purposes, getting the most accurate read possible should be priority.
This came out of meeting with Amy Gray, because she wants to do, like, she feels like she
That's the
wants to
art
do,
gal.
when she's doing, the art, she wants to do themes. And so she wanted to have more than one session, and so she saw them chunking in themes. So,
And this is so this will go out on the survey this month, but then in real time,
Yeah.
you'll do it again.
oh,
Right?
and again and again and
Yeah.
again, yes, there'll be lots of,
Okay.
like, this is just
So-
getting, us, like, how many, I think that we need to have at least a good estimate on how many people are actually, so I wanna also keep in perspective. We are providing over 1,000 hours of school, like, we are providing school to everybody already. Like, that's already being provided. This is extra. And so hopefully, you know, people that want to take advantage of this extra is wonderful for them.
Well, and maybe,
Yeah.
so go ahead, Julia.
I'm just gonna be, while you're breathing, I'm gonna do a time check.
Yeah.
We still have to do, a couple different things. We still have committee updates. We have an executive director report. and we have an executive session.
Okay.
And we've
I'm motivated to get the most accurate sense of the numbers possible. So I would just encourage us to think on this survey, Michelle. I'll just voice my preference for being like, how many Fridays do you think you're going to use this year? There are 17 Fridays available. Do you think you're going to use 2? Do you think you're going to use 10? Because I think that's actually the way more parents are going to think about it than like, oh, I probably will travel in I have a lot of work in March, like I work the tax cycle so that I'm going to use session 3. Like I think it's less likely that you'll get accurate numbers if you do this. Doesn't mean that once we start the year, we can't be like pitching, like have your kid come 3 sessions in a row because these are the 3 sessions that are on like the water cycle and they're doing this particular photography. I know the kind of art projects that they do with artists, and it's really cool to have kids come multiple sessions in a row. But I do think as far as at this point in time, getting an accurate count on the number of Fridays any particular family is going to use. I think there are some families that will say, I'm going to use every Friday. And there's some families that are going to say, I'm going to use a sprinkling of Fridays, like 3 to 5, that kind of analysis. You just might get more accurate numbers is my sense.
I guess my pushback a little bit is the Fridays are already, like, we already have dates set. And those are the Fridays that are available because to somebody say that they're going to have, like, use 4 of the Fridays. So what 4 of those Fridays are they gonna be? And we do, like, I just can't emphasize enough, like, for the busing, for the planning of staff, like, we have to have some, I understand that we want everybody to attend, but we still have to have some parameters so that we can make this, I wanna make it successful. And I think if we can, and we don't have enough staffing.
Well, and here's an idea. So if you're having someone sign up in June for the first session, once we actually get to right before the session starts, sending out another email, but to all and saying, hey, you signed up for this. Are you like still going to use them? And like, if not, please, like you need to respond. And then we can also send it to everyone else. You didn't sign up. Do you foresee a need? Because it gives those people, and maybe we can, I mean, it's going to be work on the back end for us, but it's more than available to those that signed up, but they're like, oh no, actually, I'm not going to use it. And those that didn't sign up at all, and they're like, oh crap, I need it.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop us now.
Okay.
You've heard some input from
Yeah.
folks on the survey. The survey is gonna go out this month. We've got time to work on how things are communicated in the future.
I wanna send the survey out tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
it's
that
good.
you heard what we said. Yeah, you heard what folks.
And this is what the committee worked on, so.
Yeah, okay. So then,
Can I just ask one question about the transportation, because it ties into the budget? The 52,000 in the budget, is that the routes plus the?
It includes the
payment?
Fridays, it includes the Fridays.
But is it the route plus the bus, the payment for the bus?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, it includes, so the proposed contract with the Dalles, with the D21 is for 5 years, and they would purchase that bus, which is a $189,000 bus over 5 years and finance it. So the annual amount we pay is our way of is paying off the bus plus the additional mileage.
thank you. Great, thank you. Good work. I'm so excited for Fridays myself. Let's see, executive director report.
Okay.
Anything that you haven't shared with us yet today?
Hold on. Oh, I'm gonna stop sharing. Hold on. It won't let me do it. Oh, there it is. Okay. Let's see. Just that, the projected enrollment is 206. It's actually gonna be probably a little bit higher than that, because I think that, and we've had a lot of conversations with the K1, and they're all on board, is our goal is about 24 for every class size. And that they're going to have EAs in their classrooms in the morning. They're super excited about and happy about that. I think that, and Tiffany, I think you might have said this before, is what happens is if you're low in K1, you know, then we're trying to get kids in 2, 3 and trying to pull that up. The goal is to get kids in kindergarten that stay with us all through 8th grade so that we can help build the culture and they give them that good base. And so our reading scores are higher because they've started with us. Time and time again, we see that the kids that are coming in here kind of are low, and so try to get them up. So they're all on board with that. We have a wait list for kindergarten. I will probably bring in a couple more 1st graders, and I have one more 2nd grader, 3rd graders. And so the school, I think, is full at this point, because we also want to keep them at the 24 class size, even though it looks like 7th grade is a big, our current 6th graders are class, and then after they pop out of there, then the goal is always to have that at 24. And then their wait list is on there. I do have a youth truth survey. What I'm gonna do is not go through that, and I have this for you, and you can look through that, and then I'll present more on that later.
Thank you.
And then we received a $10,000 grant last year from the Columbia Gorge ESD. They came on our last PLC meeting, which last Wednesday, and they did work around the data, and then they're going to come back and do some more with the youth truth survey. Just looking at the students and what their feeling is about stuff and how can we change, or how can we improve upon that. And then we're going to be doing some curriculum work, which I already had on here. So still waiting for a notification about our summer learning grant. That will the only thing that's really going to determine is whether or not we have summer learning in the Dells for our kindergartner for 8th graders. And then we will still do kindergarten jumpstart. It just might be shorter. I guess I still have funds for that. So still waiting for that. We've already talked about reconciliation. There's a job posting for the 2-3 because Gary Ellen did do her letter of resignation. We have applicants for that, already have a committee. Safety drills are actually changing for next year. They've just changed that, but we're on track with our safety drills. And I think that's it. Yes.
Any kind of retirement celebration?
Yes, they're working on that. So yeah.
Will they invite us? Can we invite ourselves?
We're coming.
Okay. And we'll also probably do something, big at a Tiger Rally for her, obviously. We also, or Jen brought up about celebrating our, we have 2 very large groups of volunteers right now. We have the backpack program people, and we have the smart reading. McKenna and I already kind of talked about a date for doing something like that. Marie would like to maybe talk to you about a date. Maybe doing after they're done packing, doing a dessert thing or some sort of thank you for them, something for them. Yeah, no, we'd like to celebrate what they're doing. That's it.
Okay, awesome, thank you. And then, let's see, anything from any of the committees listed? Any updates you want to share out?
I don't have much. This has been 21 years. And there is someone who's interested to potentially take on the coordinator position.
Awesome. Yay.
That's great. And Lisa's still on board to continue liaison, so great.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
From the-
McKenna, anything from fundraising?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, it's cutting out every other word, so I apologize for interrupting.
No, you're good.
Okay. So Made for Mosier, we have our auction is starting next week on the 28th. We have about $15,000 worth of donations so far. If everything goes for retail value. And that includes the live auction as well, which is on May 2nd at MoCo.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Thank you.
We've kind of already talked about facilities. Can I skip over anything else to say there?
Yeah, no.
Kristen made $800 at Springfest.
Oh, good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good.
Good
job, Deb.
Good. And then
And-
go ahead.
Yeah, there were folks interested about the solar pavilion and the school and lots of folks just passing through.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, awesome.
Drinking lemonade.
Drink a lemonade. Good, great.
Anything for Vision and Voice Committee?
No, no.
Okay, and then we've got Tiger's Den, not much for Garden Committee at this
No, I
point.
don't have any.
We planted some beautiful trees in the
And
park.
it looks
Yes,
amazing.
we do need to stake that one,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the wind is, yeah. Yeah, we do.
But the others, James, who's doing the excavation, he actually said he'd come and
Thank you.
do
Oh,
that.
good.
So yeah, he was supposed to do it yesterday, but it's been get done. I'm meeting with a parent that has a landscaping, and he's gonna see if we can get that all flattened. We're just gonna purchase some sod and have his group lay sod for us. And so we'll get that taken care of. He also kind of talked about, James is quite like, he knows a lot about the field. And so he's like, this is what we could do for your soccer field. Like, we need to put new irrigation in there, but he'll top dress it. And then this, parent said that they could come in and they would, blow on grass, right? You have to blow on.
Hydroseeding.
I do, yes. The worry is obviously fall, because the kids and we're not gonna have a field. So I'm a little worried about that, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
That's all good. Okay, for the board self-assessment, because we don't have enough time and we really should spend some time on that. I was gonna suggest that we have a special meeting for it that pulls in any new board members and also any exiting board members. So that we can have a really robust conversation. The SOAR process is, looking at our successes, our opportunities, aspirations, and results. It's a nice kind of, positive process to go through. So, if you all are good with that, then we can think about when to schedule it, like after June-ish or something.
I'll make a motion that we, delay this self-assessment to a June meeting.
Or a special session.
Special.
Yeah, the Virginia meeting.
Okay. I'll second that. All those in favor? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. After June. Okay, and then we have an executive session, for just our quarterly check-in with Michelle, Executive Director. This is ORS 192.6602I to review and evaluate employment-related performance. Do folks have energy for 10-15 minutes for that?
Yeah, all day.
Okay. Great. Robin, would you be able to pull us off of the public session so that we can have an executive session on the same Zoom? That's no, thank you. Okay. So as we shift to not being recorded and streamed, folks can take a quick break if you need to.
Oh, yeah. And I'll pass these. I'm gonna take one down and pass it.
Oh, that would. I'm amazing.
Yeah. Much easier. Yeah.
Hi, Jen.
Hi.
Yeah.
See you soon. That's the youth truth.
Okay. Julia McKenna, we're just taking a quick break.
We still have McKenna and Julie.
We do, but we're still being live streamed. And Dan is texting Robin. This is a full meeting. Oh, do we sign this?
Get that.
Okay.
Oh. Sure.
Top 10. Here's the shot. Awesome.
Um,
executive.
Julia McKenna, I just emailed you a separate Zoom link that we're gonna use for executive session. It should be in your inbox. So I'm gonna sign out here and I'll see you over there. And then, so not sure exactly how to close this out for folks. If you are listening in the public, I'm gonna keep us signed into this Zoom and we'll return after the executive session just to let you know that we're out of executive session and closing the meeting. Hopefully Robin doesn't close it down while we're gone. We'll let her know what our plan is. Okay, Julia McKenna, we'll see you in the other Zoom. Oh wait, I can't keep this open if I'm going to Zoom. I can't do that. So we'll just let Robin know we'll be back, folks.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Hi, Robin.
Hey.
We'll be back in a little bit.
Okay, great. No worries.
Okay,
For the
folks.
principal stuff.
Thank you, Robin, for letting us back in. We are actually back from a very short executive session that we didn't even need to have. And just going to close out this session, and we will see everybody at our next.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was just gonna say really quick, our next meeting, is May 19th,
Oh, is it 19th?
Next regular meeting.
is May 19th. And we will need somebody to take notes. Does anybody who's left want to volunteer for minutes?
May 19.
Yeah, that's what I got.
19 at 5.
Okay, May 19th at 5 PM.
I'll be at work that day.
Okay, so Dan can't do it.
I will do it. Yes, I should be able to do it.
Thank you, Tiff. You did a great job. Okay, so Tip will be on notes, and with that, we can entertain a motion to close out.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Okay, Velia, second already? All those in favor?